right, maybe I'll go by the pool next time. So we're starting this off. Just a note, we're having another internet meeting or virtual meeting of the City Council as allowed by Governor Newsom's COVID-19 emergency order, which allows this. Just a couple things. One, if you're calling in to make a public comment will work somewhat similar to if you were in the room with us. If you'd like to make a public comment, raise your hand virtually if you're part of the Zoom. And if you're calling in, you can always dial *9. The other way to make public comment is to email us at publiccomment@sonomacity.org. And that will go right to Latanya, and she will read your public comment. Those will also be timed. You'll get 3 minutes to make public comment, and that's how it will go. If you'll hear us kind of give you the 1 minute, 30 seconds. We're not trying to be rude or cut you off. We're just letting you know of your time. The other point to note is everybody's participating from their homes or their home offices, and they do reserve the right to turn off the camera and sound at any time, but they will inform us if they leave the room. So they'll be listening and participating in the meeting, but you may not be able to see council members or members of staff. Great. Finally, there is the possibility that we could get hacked or Zoom bombed through one of these meetings. And if that does happen, we'll close the meeting down. Nothing will transpire while it is closed down. The meeting will be paused. We'll bring the meeting back up and continue on from the point where we left off. If we're unable to restart the meeting, then the meeting will be continued at a later date. Great. With that, we'll go ahead and start. Should we do the closed session or the pledge first, Jeff?
We can report on the closed session, Mr. Mayor, and the council took no action in the closed session reporting out at this time.
Thank you. Awesome.
And Mayor Harvey, and there were 2 closed sessions, so council can complete the other closed session at the end of the regular meeting.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Kathy and Jeff. And we'll go ahead and bring up the flag and do the pledge. All right. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Great. We already did the public comment and process, but we'll go ahead and go to the roll call. And I would note at this time that Councilmember Hundley, Vice Mayor Hundley, will not be joining us immediately. She will be joining us at 7 p.m. She had a conflict with work. Will be joining us at 7 p.m. But she noticed this before the meeting to have myself city manager, so she'll be jumping back in a little later. So let's go ahead for the roll call.
Councilmember Cook.
Here.
Councilmember Harrington.
Present.
Councilmember Agramonte.
Here.
Mayor Harvey.
Yep, I'm here.
Thank you.
All right. Do we have meeting? Oh, we're on to comments from the public.
Mayor Harvey, do you want to do approval of the agenda? And before you do so, can I, Vice Mayor Hundley requested that item 4.4, which are the Verizon resolutions, be pulled off consent and be put later in the agenda so she can participate in those. So if we can kind of just slide those in when she gets here on the regular calendar. If that's okay with the council, and if council would take that recommendation to then approve the agenda.
That's fine with me. We can, yeah, all right. Sounds good. So we'll approve the agenda with the exception that item 4.4 be moved on the regular calendar. And we're putting it in after the budget.
Yes, let's put it after budget at this point.
Become item 6.3 effectively. Great.
Is there a motion to that effect?
Can I move it?
Yes.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Councilmember Cook.
Aye.
Councilmember Harrington.
Aye.
Councilmember Agramonte. Believe that was an aye. Mayor Harvey.
Yes.
Carries 4-0-1.
All right. Great. Moving on to meeting dedication. Or comments from the public. Do we have public comment for items. So at this time, members of the public can comment on any item not appearing on the agenda. It is recommended that you keep your comments to 3 minutes or less under state law unless otherwise permitted under the Ralph M. Brown Act. The merits of this matter presented by this item cannot be discussed or acted upon by the City Council at this time. For items appearing on the agenda, the public will be invited to make comments at the time the item comes up for council discussion. Upon being acknowledged by the mayor, begin by stating and spelling your name. All right. When I see Mr. Gill with his hand up, we'll bring him into the meeting, and you'll have 3 minutes. I'll put it on the clock, and we'll get this going.
Good evening to the City Council. Gil Latimer, 1055 Grant Court. I have a best friend on the brink in ICU at Marin General right now. It's not COVID related, but everyone's in the unit together regardless. Another friend managed to get in there 2 days ago for 5 minutes only and described an extremely serious setup, plexiglass walls, huge ventilation systems. She said it did inspire confidence, but after getting an update yesterday evening by phone from the attending nurse, my friend, who's also a healthcare professional, asked her if she was scared. And the nurse's reply was very scared, but that they are all professionals. This is why they got into the business, and this is what they're trained to do. She was just thankful that they are working in a great facility and have no shortage of PPE. So think about this. They are facing down an outbreak at San Quentin, and where do you think those in need of hospitalization will go? We are now facing a bit of our own crisis with new cases arising in local healthcare facilities. I hope that Sonoma Hospital does not become overburdened. I tell this personal story to illustrate a point. We all know how serious this COVID issue is and how important it is to keep the infection rate as low as possible. This has many, many who live here and in the surrounding area very concerned, specifically about mask policy and enforcement. You may or may not be aware of 2 discussion threads on Nextdoor Sonoma that combine for nearly 700 comments around these subjects. One is titled Masks. The other is titled, I Could Use Some Advice. If you are not already doing so, I highly recommend that you all regularly monitor these threads and any new ones that are likely to crop up. There is no other Sonoma-centric social media platform around that matches the numbers of participants found at Nextdoor Sonoma. It's one of the best places online to take the pulse of the general public. These 2 threads to which I refer are a rich source of concerns, complaints, questions, and ideas on how we manage our current situation, and some of it is directed directly towards city government. People are looking to be heard, and they're looking for answers. I urge the City Council and staff to continue to avail yourselves as much and as often as possible of all the social media platforms to which you have access to let your citizens know that you have their backs. And with that, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Gil. I saw John Kelly who had his hand up second, so if we could bring John in.
Hello.
Hey, John.
Hi, good evening.
Welcome.
My name is John. Well, thank you. My name is John Kelly, and spell that John Kelly. I'm here tonight to speak to you about the school resource officer. And my question is, first though, is that on the agenda already? Because I see that the budget item is there. And would that be a better time to speak on this?
We're not addressing it specifically tonight. So
Okay. Then
Yeah.
I'll take this moment. And just briefly, I'm also the president of the Board of Trustees of the Sonoma Valley Unified School District, and I'm speaking tonight in support of the SRO program. The SRO program is implemented to allow a Sonoma County Sheriff's Deputy operating in conjunction with the City of Sonoma Police Department, funded 3 ways by the district, the city, and the county, to have a dedicated officer at our high school and to establish collaboration between our district staff and the department. This has proved vital for the district in several different ways. First, the district has continuing interaction with law enforcement at our elementary level, frequently relating to enforcement of either domestic violence restraining orders or custody orders between families who are in contested divorces. And the ability to have a dedicated liaison with the Sheriff's Department proves invaluable in situations where very vulnerable children are often in play. Second, we have public safety concerns at our school sites, and the SRO is an invaluable resource for us to be able to implement our program. I think we can all recall within the past 6 months, a pair of assaults at Altamira Middle School and the incredibly rapid response that the Sheriff's Department implemented, catching the suspect within 3 hours. That would not have been possible without the dedicated work of our SRO. The SRO serves at the high school, and we have been assessing from our bargaining units and our staff their opinion on the program. We have heard back very strong positive feedback from those bargaining units, asking us to do what we can to ensure that the SRO program continues. This was both at our continuation high school Creekside and at our high school Sonoma Valley High. That is not to say, though, that the SRO program may necessarily continue indefinitely. The district continues to look at alternatives for student discipline and for maintaining campus climate and culture that may involve in the long term changing to a restorative justice practices program. And it would be disingenuous to say that the two are not related, but there has been no action taken on that at this time. And we would request the city please continue its funding of the joint three-way SRO officer for the next fiscal year to ensure that the program can continue while the district studies reasonable alternatives. And I thank you very much for your time tonight.
Thank you, John. We've got, I saw Josette. And if you're going up for public comment, just leave your hand up as we call on people so we know who's next. Thank you, Josette.
Josette Roseicher, 1110 Loma Court. This is a quote from a thread on Nextdoor concerning following health orders for COVID by businesses in Sonoma. My friend called City Hall, who directed her to Sonoma County Health Department of Health, who directed her back to the local police, who will also educate the manager owner or the Chamber of Commerce, who said it was extremely difficult to enforce, but told her to call the city attorney. Obviously, there doesn't seem to be any recourse or anyone willing to take this farther. This is a one-person massage establishment, not on the plaza. So again, there is close physical contact, no masks, or who knows if any other precautions are being taken. My friend did, however, give the name of this business to each person that she contacted. Very frustrating. And as Gil said, Nextdoor is where all this conversation is going on and where I took this quote from. So for me, you know, the signs on the plaza and the businesses are great. The Chamber of Commerce is stepping up, but I think we need a dedicated enforcement person to follow up and talk with businesses when there are reports. We need to assure employees of businesses that it's okay to refuse entry to those not wearing masks. I did talk with the Chamber of Commerce today. I know the city has done a lot in funding and working with the Chamber. It all helps, and I thank you for all you have done. But a dedicated point person for follow-up and enforcement of health orders would keep us safe and go a long way to making sure we do not have to shut down again. Thank you very much.
Josette. We have another member of the public for general public comment. Seeing none, I'll go ahead and close the general public comment period. Move it into
Mayor Harvey, may I just address just in general what folks can do? So we take complaints about potential places where folks may not be following public health orders seriously. So what I would recommend is, you know, call City Hall. We'll reinforce to folks downstairs and in taking the phone calls. But basically our code enforcement does reach out when we have specifics. The tricky thing about the public health orders is that the code, they are a misdemeanor. So only the folks that are police officers or deputy sheriffs can actually do kind of a fine. And that is a conversation we're having with the public health officer, whether it could be treated as an infraction or a misdemeanor going forward. It would take changes on the public health side, and then code enforcement could use our administrative citation process. Currently, there's other tools that we use when we're reaching out to businesses. And for the most part, folks do comply when they're told. A lot of the regulations, some of the regulations are confusing and the information coming, it's hard to kind of understand where things are and aren't. So just encourage people, if the easy generic is just email cityhall@sonomacity.org and we will follow up. Meanwhile, working with a lot of work is happening with businesses to help them get comfortable to say no shirt, no shoes, no service, no masks, same type of thing. And really creating a culture here in Sonoma that we do take these types of issues seriously. So a lot of good work by the Chamber and Visitors Bureau and Vintners and Growers, and continuing to kind of, again, create the right culture that we want as a community.
Thank you, Kathy, and I appreciate the work that you've been doing on this issue. It's really important to a lot of our community members, as we've heard today and
Understand.
online, and I've had a number of calls on the issue as well. And it's a significant area of concern and one that's a little difficult to ensure is enforced well, but we continue to try and keep making progress on the issue. Great. Meeting dedications. Do we have one? Seeing none. No presentations today, so we'll go on to consent calendar. Do we need to take off the item 4.4, or that's already been moved, right?
We've already taken that off the agenda, Mayor Harvey, and put it to after the budget.
Okay, great. So items listed on the consent calendar are considered to be routine and will be acted upon by a single motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless members of council, staff, or public request specific items to be removed for separate action. At this time, the council may decide to change the order of the agenda. We have a motion. Do you have any questions from council or any desire to remove an item other than 4.4? No? All right, I'll open it up for public comment. We have no written public comment, I assume?
No, Mayor Harvey, we do not.
Thank you, Latanya. All right, close public comment and bring it back to the board, the council. We have a motion to approve the consent calendar.
Don't move, Madeline.
Second.
Oh, race to the finish for the second. We have a roll call vote.
Councilmember Cook,
Aye.
Councilmember Harrington,
Aye.
Councilmember Agramonte,
Aye.
Mayor Harvey.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion carries 401.
All right, thank you. Moving on to public hearing, item 5.1, discuss, consider, excuse me, possibly take action to introduce and conduct a first reading of ordinance amending the Sonoma Municipal Code to amend section 9.56.040, table 1, and another section, and which regulates the use of generators and associated noise impacts during power outages and emergencies, and finding this action to be exempt from CEQA guidelines. City Manager.
Could you
Mayor
repeat
Harvey,
that,
am I-
Mr. Mayor?
I'm not doing the numbers.
Mayor Harvey, may I actually ask David Storr, our planning director, to make the presentation? And I know Wayne Wyrick,
Yes.
if you could move him forward to Rebecca, who's our development services
He's there.
director, is also on. Thank you.
Awesome.
Tonight, in essence, this particular ordinance will relax the city's noise standards during for backup generators during a power outage or like a PSPS or other declared emergency. The ordinance will allow an increase in the allowable noise limits by 5 decibels, which will be shown in the chart that we have in the attached ordinance. The project has been determined to be exempt from CEQA, and we recommend that you open the public hearing, take comment, introduce the ordinance, and we'll return, I believe, in August with the second reading. This concludes staff's report.
Thank you. Do we have questions about this item from council? No?
Nope.
All right, we'll bring it out to public comment. Seeing no one comment, I'll bring it back to council. Comments from council?
Can I make a motion to approve?
Go for it.
I don't know. Does it have to be more than that?
No.
Motion to adopt the ordinance.
That's the motion to introduce it.
Oh, motion to introduce the ordinance.
Second.
There we go. All right, roll call vote.
Councilmember Cook,
Aye.
Councilmember Harrington,
Aye.
Councilmember Agramonte,
Aye.
Mayor Harvey.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion carries 401.
All right. Awesome. Moving right along to item 6.1, discussion, consideration, and possible action to adopt a resolution approving the ordinance to be submitted to the voters of the city of Sonoma to continue the urban growth boundary. I'm going to turn this over to. You're muted. You want it, Kathy? I'll just give it
No,
to
please, if you could go ahead and I'll turn it directly over to David Starr, our planning director.
you, David.
And thank you, Mr. Mayor, council members. On June the 1st, you may recall that we presented you with a draft ordinance measure that could be presented to the voters this November 3rd. That would basically continue the city's urban growth boundary for another 20 years. At your council meeting, you directed us to return with 3 changes. One would be to define how we determine the 5-acre minimum that can be brought into the UGB in any given year. The second one was to remove a problematic finding that related to state law requirements with respect to low and very low income housing in order to comply with state law. The third was to provide a 4/5 vote for changes of the city council in order to amend the UGB. A few days after that meeting, we placed some draft language on the city's website. It's been there basically almost 3 weeks. We provided a clean version, a red line version. We recommend that you adopt that with one additional provision that we provided in your staff report, and that is also in the resolution, which has the ordinance as well. And that is the reinstatement of a particular provision that's in the 2000 UGB, and more importantly, and as importantly, I think, it's also within the general plan that we have today, that requires the council to find, should it wish to amend the UGB, to make a finding that there's not sufficient vacant or undeveloped land within the UGB in order to accommodate a new affordable housing project. And as such, what we have done is remove the problematic portion of the language that we had actually suggested that it not be included at all. Having removed the problem language, which I'll say is are the words reasonably feasible, we've taken that component out of the problematic language and now provided you with language that talks about still making that finding that there's no existing land inside the city limits before you then are interested in making an amendment to go out beyond the UGB. So we have determined that the project is exempt from CEQA, and we recommend that you adopt the ordinance tonight. Adopt the resolution tonight, which has the ordinance contained within it. I apologize for that. This concludes staff's presentation, Mr. Mayor.
Do you have questions from council?
None.
So I have a question, David. So we're removing the language that your recommendation is that we remove the language that would. So this ordinance will still require a affordable housing developer to prove that there is no available land within the city to build their affordable housing.
Yes, that is correct. And what it does is it takes out that wiggly language that talks about you can only do it if it's reasonably foreseeable. We took that out, thinking that that was a little bit more definite by removing that squishy language.
But the language still says that. So what is the language that we're going to have now?
The finding that the council will need to make in order to amend the UGB will that there is no existing vacant or undeveloped land within the UGB. And that's currently, like I said earlier, that is language within the current 2000 UGB and also in our general plan as it sits today.
No existing vacant or undeveloped land?
Correct.
So if there's one single parcel in the city that is underdeveloped or undeveloped, then then you cannot
have
build
to-
on that, regardless of the cost of that land.
Well, I think the point being is if somebody comes in with a 5-acre project, which is within the 5 years, within any 1 year, 5 acres within any 1 year, and there's no 5-acre land that can accommodate that project, then you could obviously move forward if the council is interested in amending the UGB for that purpose. If, for example, somebody's coming in with a 1-acre project, and there are 2 or 3 1-acre pieces of vacant or undeveloped land, then you can say, well, wait a minute, we're not going to amend the UGB because otherwise there's land otherwise that could be developed with a 1-acre project. I think that was the intent, that you exhaust all opportunities within your UGB before you're tempted to do a project outside of it at some point in the future.
So as long as the project, so you'd have to bring in the size of the project matters. It's not just, because it sounds like it's any undeveloped land is automatically that would negate it. But what you're saying is that any undeveloped land that is equal to, or I guess greater than, your proposed project.
Yeah, and
Mayor Harvey, if I might interject, if you take a look at the ordinance that's attached to the resolution on page 5, can you access the ordinance that's attached to the resolution? Page 5. It lists the criteria that the council must find that the applicant who wishes to take advantage of the exception, that is an allowance to amend the UGB, there are 3 findings that must be made. The third finding is the one you're discussing with the planning director right now. The third finding is that there is no available vacant or undeveloped or residentially designated land within the UGB to accommodate the proposed development. So the land has to be accommodated, has to be big enough, first of all, to accommodate, to allow the proposed development to occur. So if the development is 5 acres and there's only 3 acres of residentially zoned land available, developed, and or vacant, and designated residential in the city, and there's only 3 acres, then the proposal of a 5-acre affordable housing project would be, assuming the other findings can be made, would be eligible to be considered for exemption purposes.
What if I find a 3-acre parcel? I want to do affordable housing development on that. And there is a 3-acre parcel inside the city limits, but it's $500,000 more than the one outside.
I think that would be something that the council would take into consideration in making this finding. Likewise, let's assume that the owner of that property wasn't the developer, and the owner, no matter what price the developer was willing to pay, was unwilling to sell the property. I think that this language is flexible enough for the council to find that there, in fact and in practicality, there is no available vacant or undeveloped residentially designated land. The key here, in my opinion, is we are trying to preserve the 2000 UB's provisions as much as possible. Once we begin to deviate from the language that's currently in the UGB that's in effect today and will remain in effect through December of this year, the more likely we will trigger a need to assess the environmental impacts of those changes. And that's why this language is being recommended to be reinserted into the 2020 UGB, because it mirrors that which is in the 2000 UGB. The part of this finding we've removed is the part that is sort of undefinable and is very problematic in terms of understanding what it means. Because the other part that the council and the planning commission found problematic in January states that not only must the land not be available, but the council must also find it is not reasonably feasible to accommodate the proposed development by redesignating lands within the UGB for low and very low income housing. Nobody understood what feasible meant. There was no definition in the UGB that's currently in place that would lend meaning to that provision or give guidance to how it was to be construed or enforced. And the council found that it was almost impossible to understand what it meant. Thus, the council and the commission recommended the finding be removed.
Yeah, I just think that we're going to have the same issue with the word available.
Maybe. I think that it's it has a more quantifiable and a little bit more objective character to it.
All right, I got to close my window here. Can
The
we add?
basic concept is if the developer can find land within the city limits to develop an affordable housing project, then there should be no need to amend the UGB to accommodate that project. That's the basic concept that this language is premised on. And I think that makes some sense to me. I think it makes some sense to the drafters of the 2000 UGB, and that's why it's in the 2000 UGB. The other issue too is if you remove this language, then the rate that the 5 acre maximum that is provided in the UGB to be exempted and allowed to be expanded every year to include a 5 acre affordable housing project, the rate of that development could be higher if you remove this finding altogether, because you don't care whether there's land within the city to accommodate the development. As long as it's affordable housing project and meets the other criteria, you can expand the UGB to provide that additional development outside the city's boundaries as they are currently configured. And you
But it
can
would
do
still
that
be
at a
limited by
faster rate.
But it would still be limited by the max of 20 acres.
Yeah, but that 20 acres is spread over supposedly over 20 years. That could be consumed and exhausted at a higher rate because this finding would not be included.
Yeah, but when we
Yeah,
met
they
with
have
planning
impacts.
commission and city council, it seemed that we had agreed that, you know, the original agreement that we had reached at that meeting, I felt like, and correct me if I'm wrong, was that we would have a limit of 20 years, but that the amount of acreage per year would not be limited.
Well, I don't know what agreement we reached. What is important is the legal implication of allowing a 5 acre max per year to be exhausted faster than would otherwise be potentially permitted if this finding
Would trigger.
is included in the ordinance. I think too, there seems to be, a misconception about what a UGB is. It's a growth control measure. It's not an affordable housing project. It's not a 20 acre affordable housing development project. It's really not aimed at doing that. It's aimed at controlling growth, not encouraging it.
Mm-hmm. And that's the question. That's been the fundamental question the whole time is, you know, we want to control and protect wildlands and keep green spaces on the outside of the city of Sonoma, but we also have an affordable housing crisis. And that's where we're trying to figure out how do we provide for. I mean, right now we have people who are contracting COVID, the majority of them being Latino because there are 5 people to a room because we don't have access to affordable housing. And so the question has always been, how do we keep the UGB and make that legitimate and stop sprawl and reduce the amount of sprawl that we have here and keep Sonoma smaller, but also how do we make sure that there's ability to provide affordable housing for our residents, especially when we're living in a economy that's mostly agricultural and restaurant hospitality based, and we have a lot of low income workers here. So that's always been kind of the balance of this, and we tried to reach an agreement there. And so I'm just trying to figure out what's going to work. You know, there's been new things that have come up. We've taken out what we had agreed upon with the city council and the planning commission at the joint meeting. And so now there's additional language that one of the main concern language was what you had addressed before, right? One of the big pieces of concern was how do you define no available land? And I think that you've made an attempt here to address it. And I think it's close to acceptable. The question that I have is just, you know, available land with regards to affordability is not, I think that's going to be highly questionable. The other question I have is, you know, we've used a lot the CEQA trigger as a major issue. And so what does it mean if we were to have a UGB that would trigger CEQA? What does that mean?
That would mean that if the council were challenged, let's assume you adopt a UGB that, and I'll use a hypothetical that's relatively extreme so the point can be made more clearly, radically different than the UGB that's currently in place. So let's assume the council decided that 100 acre cap on affordable housing rather than 20 was appropriate over this 20-year period. And that every year, 10 acres up to 10 acres could be added to the UGB to accommodate affordable housing. That's an extreme example. And that's what the council placed on and voted on putting on the ballot in November. If an environmental group sued the city council for making that decision without any environmental review, and the court agreed with the group that sued the city, then the measure would not be placed on the November ballot. The court would invalidate the council decision and prohibit the UGB measure from being placed in the ballot altogether.
Okay.
May I ask Jeff, Mr. Mayor, could I ask Jeff a question?
Of course, yeah.
Jeff, so is this related to the housing element also?
Does it relate to the housing element? Not really. The housing element requires, is supposed to set forth and identify sufficient land within the city to accommodate the city's regional housing, affordable housing needs. The additional amount that might be added through the exemptions, the exceptions that are set forth in the UGB, is not contemplated in the council's obligation in terms of meeting the housing element requirements of state law, because there's just no way to know whether or not these three findings, for example, will be in fact met at some point, and thus you can add more land and you can identify those additional parcels or additional acreage in your identification of land that's being made available for affordable housing. So you have to look at the city's boundaries right now and identify sufficient lands within the city's boundaries right now in order to meet the city's regional housing needs obligation.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, I think I understand what you're saying about affordable. Do you know where it's just, I don't know how feasible affordable housing is in some of the locations here in the city of Sonoma. Is that what you were sort of?
Yeah, it's just how do we allow it if it can't be built here? How do we allow a process by which, through the council, and we have a very restrictive process, right? A 4/5 vote of the council with specific findings that must be made, that affordable housing can be developed. The previous UGB, the criticism that was levied at it was that it was impossible to ever make a finding that would allow for an affordable housing project to be developed outside the UGB. So my concern here is that it's my question, and I will express how I feel about it at some point, but is whether or not we're building a UGB or designing a UGB that does or does not allow for affordable housing to be built, for findings to actually be made, and for that process to go forward. Previously, the feeling was that it did not allow for it because of the language of feasibility or whatever it was that Jeff said. It was just, you could say, yeah, you could build it right there. Well, you can't afford it, but that doesn't matter because that land is for sale.
So can I ask a question? So for Jeff, the question being, are economic considerations appropriate factors in determining that land is not available?
Yes.
And then where is that defined? Like who defines the meaning of
available?
Yeah, who defines the meaning of available?
I think the council does when a project is presented to it.
Okay, so the council can consider a lack of availability based on economics.
I believe so, yes.
Can we make that more explicit?
Again, I have tried to
you've been trying to
press upon the city council that the less we tinker with the existing 2000 UGB, the better it is in terms of having to confront any kind of claim of a CEQA requirement, because we know the council must comply with CEQA to put this particular measure on the ballot. And we have found an exemption that allows the council not to undertake any significant environmental assessment. So the more you add, the more you define, the more you change.
Or no?
I'm sorry.
You broke up before you asked your question. Like during your question.
I broke up?
Yeah, you did. Yeah, we couldn't
Oh,
hear.
my question was, instead of changing the UGB Could you leave it the way it is, but just add a definition to the municipal code which defines what factors are used in considering available?
I think that would be a reasonable approach. Yes, I do.
Okay,
Okay.
that's interesting. That's a good proposal, Amy. Great. The other question I have is around City of Sonoma's small scale character. City of Sonoma was founded in 1835 as a mission town that has maintained its unique and historic small scale character through development that reveals a strong sense of its relationship to its historic. This one I have a question about because what we predominantly hear from advocates of UGB and kind of the whole theory around UGBs is that you should increase density in the city's core in order to make up for the housing. And so I'm wondering how that fits with A. I mean, I don't know if this is like a rule, it's just like the reasons why we're doing it, but.
The proponents of urban growth boundaries have historically argued that the purposes of a UGB, again, are to control growth, to prohibit from it sprawling into neighboring agricultural areas, and instead focus on infill development and higher densities.
Right. And so I'm wondering how that works with findings A, that we support the city of Sonoma's small scale character, because most people think of that and think of single family residences.
I don't think small town character, or small town scale rules out a higher density or infill development.
Okay.
And I think the housing element exercise that the council is going to go through in the next 3 or 4 or 5 months is going to reveal a significant pressure on the council to create higher densities and more infill development for residential purposes.
Okay. I think so too. All right, great. Any additional questions from council?
No.
Oh,
No? All right. With that, I'll go ahead and bring it out to public comment. I see Fred Allenbach.
Fred, you can go ahead anytime.
Okay. I'd like to encourage the council to stay with their vote of 6-1 and don't add any additional language. I don't understand how staff had years to think of this, and then this has to come at the last minute. After you made a unanimous vote to remove the no vacant land in the city, after the consensus of the joint meeting was that you wanted to make the edge more flexible for affordable housing. So to me, this is obviously a last ditch effort to make it less flexible on the edge. And I just I'm just really flabbergasted that this has got to this, that this just magically got thought of at the last minute. And that this is supposed to mirror the 2000 UGB. The UGB is a zoning ordinance that the council can use to mirror what they want it to mirror. And if controlling growth, and a UGB is synonymous with high pressure cooker prices. And so we have an obvious problem here. So we're looking for a relief valve, and you have parties here who are trying to close off that relief valve at every last second. So I would suggest that you don't do this and just keep to what you had before, because the idea is to make it more flexible, or at least us affordable housing advocates would think that's the case. And the question of rate and how it all add up, and that this would start to encourage growth and sprawl, like sprawl is some kind of amorphous terror that's going to affect us all. We're looking at just a couple of small projects, maybe even in 20 years. And so then it turns out that, well, what if an environmental group sued the city because you were too permissive because you thought that would invoke sequel? Well, I can't imagine who that might be, who might have threatened the city with a lawsuit about this. We know who the players are here, and this is a chess move by an environmental group to block off making the edge more flexible. I think it's outrageous, and I think you should just say forget it. And this meaning of available and all of this is just more poison pills. If you get Burbank to come along to a place who can get a 5-acre project and you get 60 or 70 units, you should take it because you're not going to get that many of them. And if people are really for affordable housing, that's hardly sprawl to have something contiguous with a city that's mixed in with low density housing. So I'm a little worked up about this, and I've been invested in this. And so I would hope that you would keep this out just to signal that you are for more flexibility rather than to allow more poison pills to stay in. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Mr. Ullbach. We've got a 707-938-9634.
Yes, David Bergote here, 240 Del Rio Paseo. This proposed ordinance is essentially prohibitive of the creation of affordable housing. To adopt this for the next 20 years is folly. It's injurious to families, minorities, and the working class. It's an example of systemic bias against others promulgated by the privileged. It's difficult enough to do affordable housing without these poison pills. The 4/5 supermajority is prohibited. The affordable housing provision is already in the UGB. It shouldn't require special handling. Where else is existing civic protocol on this requirement? The cap of no more than 5 acres per year, along with the feasibility minimum of 2 acres, is unduly restrictive. Why slice up the 20 acres over 20 years into small driblets requiring additional subdivision and expense? Has anybody looked for how many properties are suitable at 2 to 5 acres? And where did the CEQA requirement for changing this come from? What are the findings on this? I challenge this legal reasoning. It's tortured logic. Any annexation would require a CEQA process anyway, so this is redundant. Even if it was required, why would not a finding of no significant impact suffice? I think the clock was run out on the people. And of course, there's essentially no plots of land suitable for affordable housing within the city. Everything in the housing element is taken up largely by Nova. At the January public hearing, there seemed to be a consensus that the UGB renewed with a more housing-friendly bent. Now the ordinance is more housing than ever, with additional poison pills being mysteriously inserted at the last minute. This process is lamentable. A promised review committee after the joint meeting never happened despite repeated requests. Agreements voted by the council on 6/1 were reneged upon. Affordable housing advocates don't have an equivalent paid lobbyist to influence staff. California cities are supposed to take steps and identify suitable land for affordable housing development in both the general plan and the housing element. A court challenge should be expected. I repeat, a court challenge should be expected for the following reasons. Please retain all paper and documentation of the staff process that led to this ordinance being drafted. 1, the ordinance is an impediment to the provision of fair housing by denying protected classes from living in the city of Sonoma. A complaint to the county CDC is in preparation. The 4/5 requirement is excessive and singles out affordable housing as uniquely bearing this burden. The stated secret requirement is of questionable legality. The overall acreage limitation has no rational grounds other than to act as another poison pill. The lack of affordable housing in Sonoma is clear. Affordability caps restrain flexibility to affordable housing developers to put together a project that works. Environmentalists here are strangely silent on the massive Amazon warehouse just off of Sonoma. UGB proponents are rigid and unyielding in their opposition to affordable housing. We have a horrible housing crisis recovering from wildfires. We have a pandemic. We have a severe recession. We have a turmoil in international politics. Don't divide Sonoma further with this exclusionary and mean-spirited ordinance. Thank you.
All right. I'll remind everybody that you get 3 minutes. I will try to be better about giving the 1 minute time, but I'd ask everybody to respect the 3 minute public comment period. Next, we have Ms. Shore.
Yes, good evening, Mayor Harvey, City Council members, staff, and members of the public. My name is Terry Shore. I am Regional Director for the North Bay for Greenbelt Alliance. And I did provide some written comments to the City Council and staff. Some were posted, some weren't yet. But Greenbelt Alliance does support the proposed urban growth boundary as revised by staff. We think it continues the intent of the urban growth boundary for the next 20 years. We have seen that affordable housing is being built in the city of Sonoma, and one of the primary challenges to building anywhere at this point in time, the city, the county, is funding. And we are starting to see funding coming down from the state, and we are seeing quite a few nonprofit developers working throughout the county. The urban growth boundaries is consistent with city, county, and state directives to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and to support city-centered growth. So really, it's very consistent with everything that the city has been doing. And so we look forward to working with the city and with the community going forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next commenter. Do you have anybody else for public comment? Yes, we have Mr. Ding.
Hi, Mayor. Hi, council members or staff. I support those kind of language we just discussed about. I'm the volunteer and also advocate for the UGB. I have been working for this group 1 year. I'm not an environmentalist, and also we didn't get any influence from other group. We just a group of the local, the residents. And the why I support the UGB is, and the UGB is kind of the concept, protect our open spaces, agriculture. And also at the same time, if we can do well, and then we can get both affordable housing and UGB get it together. They are not against each other. UGB is kind of the where to build instead of what kind of things you want to build. My analysis and the research and the show housing price almost no significant evidence related with the UGB. I used to live in Fremont for 15 years before I moved here. Fremont, without any 30 years UGB, no UGB protection for last 30 years. So they built a house, residential and commercial, up toward to the hill and into the west to the wetland. However, the price in this Fremont, the price increased is one of the highest in the Bay Area. So that is reminding me. So that also that is the reason. And I come to Sonoma, so that I very much appreciated the land, because the land is the most valuable asset in Sonoma. We should make full use of every inch of the land. I believe our young generations are smarter than us. The federal government is irresponsibly running the government deeper into the debt, transferring our financial burdens to our younger generation. As a result, this is compromising their interests and their rights. So I hope the UGB as an environment measure and also as a social justice could be perfect gift for our the younger generations. That is my comment. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Ding. Do we have anybody else for public comment on this item?
We do have one email.
Oh, great.
Comment.
Thank you.
It is from Carol Marcus and Bill Willers. And it says, Dear Mayor Harvey and members of the City Council, we want to thank you for your leadership in bringing forward the language in the currently proposed UGB ballot measure, which we fully support. Sonoma will be a more inclusive and more socially, economically, and environmentally sustainable city for it, as it will incentivize development where there are existing services and infrastructure, and the creative use of underutilized parcels to incorporate affordable housing into the fabric of the city. Sincerely, Carol Marcus and Bill Wills.
All right. Thank you. Do we have any other written comments?
That was the only one.
All right. I'll go ahead and close public comment and bring it back to the City Council. Comments from council members.
Well, I'll go ahead and start off, Mayor. There was a lot of work done with this, and I will be supporting this tonight. I do understand a lot of the concerns, but I have to stand with a city attorney that we want to make sure that we do have something that is strong enough. So I will be supporting this tonight.
Okay. Other comments of council? Amy? Councilmember Harrington?
Oh, so I support this also, and I just want to be clear about my suggestion. I know you understood it, but just for the public, sorry, my dog's scratching here, which is that we can include the definition of available to cover economically available, not in the UGB, but in our definitions of our municipal code. And when we go to determine what factors we're allowed to look at, we can look at the definition in the municipal code as a reference, which would say that we're allowed to include economic factors. So when people are saying that it's not possible to look at the economics of it, I think we found a solution for that. And then the second thing being, which just keeps coming up at every meeting, and I understand it, but like, I think we've said for a long time now that because of the shortened time frame on the process, we cannot do an EIR, and we're not allowed to take actions that require an EIR. And the reason we can't do that is not necessarily because if we're sued, we can't do it. It's because we're a municipal government and we're not allowed to break the law. So if we're aware that we should do an EIR, but we don't have time to do one, we can't just do one on a bet that we won't get sued. That's not the role of government. So that's not something I'm interested in. I just wanted to say, I don't find it persuasive to say you should do the wrong thing because probably you won't get sued. I hope we don't make any decisions like that. So, and with regard to the argument that there's a special provision that no other project has to face, which is the 4/5 vote, no other project other than an affordable housing project would be allowed. So it's like, actually you have a special status that is superior to every other status, but it requires a 4/5 vote. So I just have to say, I understand the frustrations with the process, but we have talked about them at length at every meeting. And I think we have found some pretty good solutions to the concerns. So anyway, I'm going to support the UGB as written tonight. Thank you.
All right. Councilmember Monty, Vice Mayor Hunley, who wants to go?
I'm just listening. That's all at this point.
Okay. Vice Mayor Hunley.
Thank you. I'm sorry to be joining you all late. I can certainly also understand the frustration with current renewable exact boundaries. I think there's a lot of competing factors on all sides. I will be supporting this UGB tonight. I think that the issue of having a pragmatic plan to have an appreciable amount of affordable housing is something that our city has not yet come to a consensus, not only of how to do, but whether that's something that it even wants to do. You know, as evidenced by the fact that we've basically on a path to drain our housing trust fund already. So I do think that there are conversations to be had before the expiration of this UGB as to what our city should look like. I think it also requires having a council that's committed to having a very careful future planning for what the city could look like. And I don't think that we're in a position to do that right now. Definitely interested in having that conversation. But as far as the time constraints that we have, I think it's a very real constraint of not being able to do anything that would require an extensive environmental review. So this is what we have. And I think that it gives us a place to be beyond the expiration of our current UGB. And I think will then be the proper time to have a conversation of what the future of the city truly is going to look like and who is going to be able to live here.
Well, thank you. I just wanted to say, yes, I agree. I do support this. And it's unfortunate two good things are really opposing each other in a way, because that's where we find ourselves. And I'm really appreciative we're more specific with our language, because I think we've run into that as a problem before. So I'm happy about that. So I'm looking forward to supporting this.
I have concerns about this document and the way that it's being put together, just because I think that it's significantly better in terms of allowing for affordable housing development. If the city feels that it needs it and that a project is being proposed, I think it's significantly better than the previous one. I think the changes made to item number 3 in the findings piece will be helpful and will allow it to be found that that there is a need to build affordable housing outside of the city limits or outside of the UGB. And frankly, I really felt that was the consensus. I think Madeline brought it up that there's two opposing sides that are both good. I agree with that, but we had felt like we had kind of come to a consensus around that when we had the Joint Planning Commission City Council meeting. And I think that every loss or every kind of like pullback from what was decided at that meeting has been at the expense of affordable housing. And I think that is really unfortunate and something I wish I could rectify. I think that Councilmember Harrington's proposal of further defining the available vacant land piece is really important. I think that we need to include findings about finances in that. Affordable housing is something that I take seriously and something that I definitely support moving forward on and having in this area. I think it's not only an issue of economic justice, but also racial justice and something that we really need to be cognizant of and something we become more aware of as we see higher COVID cases in the Hispanic community. And with regards to draining our affordable housing trust fund, I think that is a continual and unfortunate comment because that money is being used to keep people in their homes. So I am happy that we're supporting rental assistance programs and continue to be so. For me, this is I am concerned that we're embarking on a 20-year process that's going to make it, we're basically excluding, this project excludes what we think is probably the most likely affordable housing development outside of the UGB, and one that was discussed as we went through this process. I think that the process has been unfortunate and in some ways somewhat flawed. I think that having UGB is important and something that I support. I think that city-centered growth is important and something that I support, but I also think that having adequate affordable housing does lead to climate smart growth and the rest of it, just because right now we know that the largest contributor to greenhouse gases is transportation. And that's mostly because people are driving to their jobs. And if people lived on the area abutting a city that's 2 by 2 square miles and worked in the city, they're going to be able to get a lot closer to work. So, yeah. Well, yeah. So anyway, I'm still not sure I'm going to vote on this. It'll be kind of a last decision just because I think that this is a better UGB that we've put together, and I appreciate the work that staff has done on this. I don't want to see the city get sued over this, and I agree with the comments that Councilmember Harrington's made that it would be wrong for us to move forward with a UGB that is not legally sound. And that's not something that I want to do. And it looks like it's got the votes to pass anyway. So there we go. All right.
Can I make a motion?
Of course.
Well, can somebody tell me so I want to make a motion to approve the proposed language for the ballot as written. What are the words that need to be said in this motion?
The motion is to approve the resolution that's in the packet.
Okay, make a motion to approve the resolution in the packet.
Second.
Okay. Roll call vote.
Member Cook,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Hunley,
Aye.
Councilmember Harrington,
Aye.
Councilmember Agramonte,
Aye.
Mayor Harvey.
No.
Thank you. The motion carries 4-1.
I just wanted to say I keep turning my camera off because my phone is really low batteries and Zoom uses a lot of batteries. So that's why I'm definitely here. Just that's it.
All right. Thank you. Move on to item number 6.2. Discussion, consideration, and possible action to approve the fiscal year 2021 City of Sonoma operating and capital improvement budget with the following resolution: city manager, assistant city manager.
Kathy, we can't hear you. Can anybody else hear Kathy?
No.
Kathy, we can't hear you.
I'm so sorry. I'm talking away. So let me just back up. What we're going to do is talk about the 2021 budget. This is just briefly high level going to go through the city manager budget message, and each slide other than this one will go through in the order of the city manager budget so the public can follow and council if there's question. But just at a high level, as council knows, this has been unprecedented time. Our budget, 25% is TOT, and just under 30 is sales tax. We're looking at a little over 50% of our budget coming from two key items that are definitely related to tourism. This year we did a 5-year general fund forecast tool to help council understand not only this year, but looking forward to make decisions. And the budget in front of you has a combination of spending reductions, revenue increases, and use of reserves. And the goal was to provide information to council so they can make an informed assessment for this budget and looking forward. We are lucky to have healthy rainy day funds that we can use to help us in this time, but we want to be judicious. So the overall plan, what is in front of you, is to set a course, keep monitoring, and then be able to adjust. So this is on page 4 of the city manager's budget message, and we will go in order. This just is a snapshot of the base scenario of the general fund forecast that we looked at with council. We had anticipated about a $4.6 million deficit. We have basically backfilled about 2.5 of that with both some revenue increases and expenditure reductions, and looking at using revenues reserves for the rest. Again, this is if we don't do anything, and council, that's not what you're doing. You're already making decisions now. Page 6 of the city manager's budget message shows this revenue chart. Again, the proposed 2021 budget is 17.2 million. And again, you can see property tax right now being at 4.5 and sales tax and Measure U, sales tax on the next two items. And then looking at our TOT, which generally is about 4.8 million, and here is 2.2. So again, TOT and our sales tax being lower than typical. Page 7 of the city manager's budget message shows our expenditure chart. And again, a little over, not a surprise, but a little over 51% of our budget goes to police and fire contracts. And then our general employees is about 27%. On page 9 of the manager's message, we laid out some one-time items, and these are items that we'll be working on based on council direction going forward, including a few key items: historic railroad district plan, working hopefully with state parks to put a gate in a Casa Grande to help some of the neighborhood issues, funding for the 2020 election, and also then doing a hazard mitigation grant and getting some consultant assistance. And that was what you just approved, so we can join the county's efforts there. Capital improvement budget. This is just the next two slides are kind of a snap from page 10 of the city manager's message, which lays out the investment. As council knows, we have no general fund investment other than about $5,000 in the CIP budget for this year in order to use general fund for other operational needs. But there are still a number of projects that will move forward this year, including the Chase Street Bridge, and we'll come back to you on that one as we get closer. Continued work on the Friar Creek and Bike Bridge, slurry seal project, sidewalk inspection. There'll be some road safety work as well, and bike and pedestrian improvements. There's also money being set for an update to our urban water master plan and the water. And then there's $60,000 of Measure M money that's being set aside for into the park and to Plaza and Depot Park enhancement project. Again, as to remind council and community, we are on a road of uncertainty. But the way we're going to get through this road is we are going to check in regularly, and we're going to continue to use new information. Again, no one knew the pandemic was going to hit us the way it did in March. And the last 4 months have been a wild road. And the next few months will probably continue to be a level of uncertainty. As we have new information, we'll bring things to council and we'll make decisions. We will be monitoring actively. So what we're asking for you to do tonight is recommending your adoption of the 2021 budget. And there are some budget reductions and strategies that we'll be implementing in July. We'll continue to monitor state and local economics and the shelter-in-place orders and the city revenues, especially the TOT, and providing monthly updates and financial reports. And then we will do a review in September after we have kind of the first quarter and see how things are and if additional reductions need to be made or if we're hitting our budget guidelines. And again, we'll do the same thing in the next quarter. So we will be acting as you are tonight, as we have so far. We're going to monitor and we're going to adjust. And that's how collectively we're going to get through this level of uncertainty and continue to provide services to our community. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions of the council. And again, this was a high level overview since you spent quite a bit of time at the last meeting going through it.
Well, Mr. Mayor?
Go ahead.
Yeah, thanks. So Kathy, of course, I asked questions. One of them, of course, was with respect to Measure M. And that seemed to be something I didn't understand. You explained it. So I think what I'm looking at is going more into the process of the program for it in 2021. Is that my understanding? Because it seems like we're backfilling things. And as I understand, Measure M voted on by the people, if I'm not mistaken. I accept it if I am. But there's a process which you take your projects to an oversight committee. I've been sending Karen Collins ideas for the whole year. And nothing went forward. You explained something to me. So I guess what I'm thinking is maybe it's going to 2021 and not right now.
Well, we'll see if, so Measure M, Parks Measure M, and when it was passed, there are a variety of legitimate uses for Parks Measure M, from new things to fire vegetation management, including maintenance. So right now, council, we had taken and during an economic, the issue like we're in now, council, we had the ability, if you wanted to backfill maintenance, you could have. At the last meeting, councils indicated you did not want to backfill. And so the budget in front of you now, basically, we're anticipating $95,000 in Parks Measure M coming. We have taken 60,000 and we have put it and set it aside in the capital improvement budget for plaza and depot use. And you can, as we move forward, council can decide how do you want to use that money, but it is set aside for improvements.
So thank you.
So the other 35 of the 95, it has been for the last either 2 or 3 years. We have used it to do maintenance and management and vegetation management, as is allowed in Measure M for Montini. The Montini Preserve for the first, and this was before my coming on board, so if, I'm not sure if our Public Works Director is on the meeting call tonight or not, but originally the open space, open space district basically paid for the first probably 2, at least 3 years for maintenance and management of Montini. That grant or that kind of transition went away, and the city was at a point then of using general fund at the very same time the Measure M came forward. And so we had never used our general fund dollars to backfill it. So for the past 2 years, if not 3 years, we have used Measure M to pay for the Montini, which was kind of a newer property that had come in and the city hadn't done that work. So this year, the Public Works Director negotiated what had been a $55,000 contract, negotiated it down kind of to a one-time reduction that we can do because of all the economic issues the city has to $35,000. So what is in the budget right now for council, and this is your policy decision, is there's 60,000 of the 95 is set aside into the capital improvement budget. And there's 35,000 that we are using, which is an appropriate use of Measure M to do the maintenance, Montini, and vegetation management. That's what we hire the goats out of, those types of things to keep the vegetation down. If council is not comfortable with that, then what would occur is we would basically take the 35,000 and future probably would go back up to 55. The general fund would absorb those costs and you would take Parks Measure M and you would use it for other things that are allowable uses within Parks Measure M. So that is where we've been for the last couple of years with budgets the council has approved. And if you would like to go to a different direction, that is your policy decision. There would be an impact to the general fund. And in this case, it would require additional reserves to backfill that.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'd like to, I mean, perhaps this isn't important, but there was a process, I thought. I think Karen Collins was very interested in doing this, working on Measure M. And I would send her things all year long and nothing got accomplished. So I'm disappointed with that. And I mean, I understand this is important, but I'm just,
So Councilmember Gramonte, the process as I understand it is that the city it puts together its budget, what it wants to spend its money on, which council has reviewed and done every year. And then there is, I believe, an annual review of the Parks District Oversight Committee. And they review it and give feedback, but the council has a policy decision of how you want to spend the funding.
And I don't know if the council was aware of the oversight committee, if there are actually plans to do creative things within our parks. And that's the thing that I guess I feel that was missed. And, it doesn't seem, we're not talking huge issues, but, I feel, pretty strongly about this. So, I don't know. I don't know if anybody's been aware that there is the oversight committee, that they make presentations, other cities have. And I don't know, we haven't. So if we're happy with that, that's fine. I'm not saying changing anything financially. I just want this council to be aware of what's out there for us to do.
I'll just add, as the lone member of the Parks Subcommittee, that there were indeed some pretty wonderful things on our list to do to some of our parks, which I think are still very important. I think right now we've gotten to the point of having to make hard choices between the two, but the parks piece, especially the things that we were talking about on the plaza, that's something that I would be in support of using reserves for.
Mm. I guess more the process, thank you, Vice Mayor. It's more the process, what's out there that's actually being done. And we're not bad. It's not a bad thing, but there are things that are available to us, creative things. And as you may have mentioned about the plaza. So I just want us to know there's other stuff out there besides what we see as a baseline for what we can provide our citizens. That's all.
Just one other point of information while we're talking about the park. So council may recall that we had applied for and received a $200,000 grant to do improvements to the park. And that has been placed on hold a couple months ago through the state's process. I know Erica checked it, our senior management analyst, about 2 weeks ago or a week ago. It was still on hold. So it's unclear. I don't know if those monies have been used somewhere else or it's a staff capacity issue. We don't know the reason why, but the whole $200,000 grant at this point is the state's website just says it's on hold at this point.
Well, and I don't think that I'm actually, I don't even know what I'm doing, but I just want the council to be aware of other things that are happening around us. That's all. And we could take advantage of it. And I don't feel that we may have, but I just wanted to share that. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
So Kathy, in terms of this being like, I know we talked about it being like sort of an interim budget because we don't know what our finances are looking like. What is your idea about a time frame for checking in on the budget and figuring out what actuals are?
Yes, so Councilmember Harrington, so I've been talking with, in terms of the world of TOT, typically it's so let's just pretend the month of July ends, and typically we don't get our TOT reports. They're due August 30th. There's a month lag. I've been talking to the 5 or 6 large hoteliers, and I believe most of them will be able to tell us within kind of a week, early the first week of August, and give us a pulse of what it's looking like, which will then help us. So I think one, there's this early pulse check since TOT is so much a big piece of our budget. And that I do think it is tied to what's happening with sales tax because there's a good 4-month lag on the state side before we get sales tax. So we're going to be blind on sales tax. It's just the way it is. So I think TOT is a barometer. So I think we'd be coming back and we could probably give you an update at that meeting in August 17th of kind of, here's where we thought TOT revenues are, here's what it looks like. So again, just even it's one piece of information. And then I think we'd be coming back in September when we have 2 months of data behind us with a broader update at the middle meeting of September and say, oh, council, here's where we are. Here's recommendations. Meanwhile, as I mentioned to you, we have thought about, what are if we needed to make additional reductions, what does that look like? And we'll continue to kind of just think through some of those items. So if we have to pull that cord, we're not starting from scratch, but not that we, we'll just be brainstorming that as staff. Does that answer your question, Councilmember Harrington?
Yeah, just so kind of like until we have some kind of stability, it could be almost monthly updates.
I can't hear you. I'm sorry. Could you do your volume up?
How about that?
Thank you.
Okay. I said, until we have some kind of stability in our economy, it might be even monthly updates and tweaks.
Yeah, no, I see definitely doing monthly. When we bring the monthly reports, kind of that second meeting of the month, we bring you the monthly report. We tell you where expenses are. We tell you with revenues. Again, we'll be able to talk about, in particular, the TOT being that kind of weather vane for us. We'll also know more of what's happening with shelter in place or any other public health orders or tightening, et cetera, either by the state or county. So, we don't know what's going to happen. As we all know, we haven't known what's going to happen in the last 4 months, and we're just going to have to kind of stay really agile and be ready to move if we need to do other changes.
Thanks.
Other questions of staff? No? All right, great. So I'll open up for public comment. I see one, Richard Silver. I get my timer ready here.
Unmute. I was looking to comment on 6.4. Is that where we are?
No.
No, we are on item 6.2.
That's what I thought. So my request was 6.4.
All I see is your hand. So I'm not aware of
my hand.
Well, I'm looking at.
Can you actually see it right now?
It says your name, and then there's a little blue hand, which indicates that you'd like to make a public comment.
Oh, well, I apologize. I'm on my iPhone because my laptop isn't getting me on Zoom. So I'm somewhat.
So we're on item 6.2 right now. So if you want.
No, I just want to comment on 6.4. So I will.
Wait till then.
I don't know how to tweak you when I do. Do I just want? Is it *9 or just make a notice? Okay.
Say your name, and we'll
Thank
make
you.
sure you comment, Richard. Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a great. Yeah. See you in a bit. All right. Great. Anyone wanting to public comment or make a public comment on item 6.2? I'm seeing none. Do we have any written comments?
No, Mayor Harvey, we do not.
Thank you so much. All right. Well, I'll bring it back for the council for final comments.
Mayor Harvey, can I just make one additional? I've got one edit. If I could just show you on a screen quick here. In the main budget resolution, I'd like to have council, when you take action on the budget, add this. This is the main resolution. I'll show you. So this is the main resolution that approves the overall general budget, overall budget, CIP, et cetera. And I wanted to recognize our management team and part-time employees who have agreed to defer a salary increase of 3% effective July 1 that had been granted. And so I wanted to have this addition added into the resolution so that council can approve that. The budget does not include this 3% increase for management and part-time employees, but having this logged here in the resolution helps cement that. So I would ask that when council takes action, there's two resolutions. The one is the main budget resolution, and the other resolution is authorizing a variety of contract amendments based on the budget you're approving. That on the main budget resolution, if you would approve it with this edit, I would appreciate that. Thank you.
And Mr. Mayor, through the mayor, could I have the city manager give the definition of deferred for public so they understand what that means, deferred?
Yes, defer. So at this point, the defer means that there would be no 3% increase for our employees for the fiscal year 2021. And that it then would start again in 21-22. Again, if our city position, if our financial position requires additional reductions or additional takebacks, then we would have those conversations as we went through the year with both management employees and our line staff.
Thank you.
I have a question. So the second resolution about executing and amending contracts, what does that include?
If you look at a table, Mayor Hunley, there is, it's okay. The table has a list of the contracts. So it's both our economic development contracts, recreation providers, some of our ongoing city prosecutor, et cetera. So there was a list that was put together there.
Does this include the school resource officer contract?
It does not.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, did you say, Mr. Mayor, comments?
Comment time, Madeline.
All right, thank you. I really appreciate the time that was spent between you, Kathy, and Kathy King regarding SOS. I know you had to work numbers up, move them around or decrease and increase. And I appreciate that. I appreciate your I think, have said, we'll wait on resource, the mediation services, just to find out to confirm, their, whatever, you know what I'm trying to say, and their qualifications. And fish, if I remember, we said we would do the 100,000 and then wait on the 50 to just check to see how the 100,000 was. So I don't know. I support giving them another $50,000, but it makes me sad that it came. They're good things, but that's our housing trust fund. So, I mean, it's good that we have it. But it was an issue for me. But I'll support it.
And Mayor, if I could start the comments. I do want to thank city staff for all the hard work. It's been hard. This will be my last budget on the Sonoma City Council, and recognizing that it is a tool is very important. And I love the fact that staff looks at it that way. There will be updates to it because no one knows what's going to happen through this pandemic, if it's going to get way worse or if things are going to get a little better. I really appreciate staff looking at the deferment and different issues like that. I don't take that lightly. I believe that, we have a great staff, and I'd love to see them get what is work to them, which I think is what they should be getting. I will be supporting this budget, but with hesitation that I'm hoping that within the next quarter to 2 quarters, we can really take a look at it, and hopefully if we need to do some cuts where it's just not staff taking it, and we can look at other things. And hopefully in September, when we do look at it with the school resource officer and different things coming up, that we have the money there. So that's kind of my take on it. But I wish I was going to be here for a mid-year budget, because I think this council and whoever is following my seat really needs to take a look at it and understand what was given up and who should get back what they got first. And that's what happened in 2008. I remember watching the council back then in 2009, 2010. There was a lot of sacrifices done by staff. And, I think the city council, along with, management staff, deserves to really take a hard look at that. So if I could leave one words of wisdom, that's something that I think the city of Sonoma did great in the past. And if we can do that in the future and understand that our staff is really great, and I'm glad that they're with the city. And thank you for putting this budget together, and I will be supporting it. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Cook. Councilmember Harrington, go right ahead.
Oh, I'm going to support the budget tonight too, and I think it's going to be a tremendous amount of forward-going work too, to constantly have check-ins to actuals and update our budget. So thank you for putting this together and for all the future work. And apropos of Councilmember Cook talking about his last budget, I was thinking about, this is my 4th budget and how different it is from a first year. That was the first year we had Sue and Kathy, and we really couldn't compare the previous budget to the first one because it was apples and oranges, and so many things had, what is the right word? Been professionalized. So that was kind of our first one. And now we're in such a better position with monthly reporting and the ability to be nimble. So great job on this document, and also on the dramatic improvements over really the last 4 years to everyone who worked on this.
Councilmember Arcamonte, do you have additional comments?
I'm sorry?
Do you have additional comments, or are you all right?
Oh, well, no, I'm pretty happy about SOS getting the support. They've had budget cuts from the county and everything, and I think we've hung in there with them. And there are a lot of good things, a lot of good support for them. And I'm just looking forward to a great future for them.
All right. Vice Mayor Hundley.
Thank you. I will also be supporting this budget tonight, recognizing that it's going to look very different from a year from now. I am cautiously optimistic, although I think the next 6 months are going to be very uncertain. But I think that at some point we will have some more stability, and as we hopefully end up above where we thought we would be, that we would think hard about, all of our goals and priorities and be directing any of that towards those things. Mentioning Sonoma overnight support, I'm glad that we have a regular contribution to them. This is sort of a legacy redevelopment contract that we have. So I think that's going to be important for the city to also put our own skin in the game, particularly in light of the fact that we have squeezed out some savings from the police contract this year. But these are all things to talk about going forward. And I think it's really an opportunity to think about where our money goes as things begin to improve. But that being said, the governor has ordered certain bars in certain counties closed, recommended it for others. So I don't think that anything is a guarantee. And I'm glad that we took a very cautious path. I hope that we are still overly pessimistic, but it's going to be a bit before we really understand where we're going to be. And there's still the opportunity, still the possibility that we're going to have to come back and have more hard discussions if things decline. So thank you, staff, for all of this. It's been an exhausting few months for all of you, and the budget is always a big deal to do. It's a lot of work. This year, I only know from the many conversations we've had and sort of imagining the rest how difficult it's going to be. I'm glad you all get kind of a quiet month to recover from all of this. But I feel comfortable and confident about where our city is sitting financially at this given point. So I will happily be approving this budget.
Great. I also really want to thank staff for their hard work on this budget. Reflect the comments that this is an extremely difficult time. It seemed like right when we started talking about this, things were looking very pessimistic. And then as we were finalizing, things were looking more optimistic. And now things are looking, a little uncertain into the future. And so, can't stress it enough. We had earlier comments, wear masks, socially distance, try to keep the numbers down so that we can continue and our businesses can continue to survive this. And get the revenue that they need, and that your city can avoid making cuts that will be very painful for the services that we provide and for the things that you enjoy about the city. And I just want to continue to thank staff for all the hard work that they do every single day, day in and day out. Our plaza wouldn't be as beautiful, our emails wouldn't be responded to, the lights wouldn't be on, the water wouldn't be flowing without all of you. And so we really respect the work that you do and appreciate it. I want to personally thank SEIU and staff that took 3%, that deferment on a 3% increase on their salary. No, I'm getting a
Just
no.
Management team and public works, management team and part-time employees. We are still in negotiations with SEIU.
Great. So management, I want to thank management and our part-time employees for taking a 3%. For not taking their 3%, allowing that to be deferred. That was a huge sacrifice, and we appreciate it. And you're definitely deserving. It's a difficult time right now, and I recognize that and appreciate it. So happy to approve this budget. There's a lot of work went into this, and interested to see where we're at in the next few months, in the next couple quarters, and how we make adjustments going forward. And appreciate the comments of Councilmember Cook about being careful about how we reallocate funds as we see ourselves doing better or worse, and making sure that it's flowing to the right places. So thank you, David, and thank you to the subcommittee that worked so hard on this, Madeline and Councilmember Harrington. That was great work, and thank you. So do we have a motion for this?
Does that mean somebody has to read that whole thing?
That's Madeline.
Maybe just a suggestion. You could go ahead, Rachel.
No, I was just asking if you could say a motion to approve both resolutions in the packet.
There you go. Well
with
done.
The change.
Well, as a
As amended.
Proposed to be amended by the city manager.
That sounds like a motion, Rachel.
I'll make the motion. So moved.
Second.
We are. All right. Roll call vote.
Councilmember Cook.
Aye.
Sorry, lost my notes. Vice Mayor Henley.
Aye.
Councilmember Harrington.
Aye.
Councilmember Agramonte.
Aye.
Mayor Harvey.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion carries unanimously.
Yay. Mr. Mayor, I got an email from Kathy King, and she would like to extend her appreciation to the city council and also city staff for being so generous and working so hard with her. Thank you.
So Mayor Harvey, I would recommend that we took Verizon, I think, and put it next after budget, but maybe we just take a quick 5-minute break before starting then that next item.
I agree. Let's do it. 5-minute break. Thank you.
hearings for three use permits that have been appealed by two appellant groups, one the applicant and then a community citizen appellant group. At your meeting, your council provided direction to staff to prepare resolutions. It did three things. Number one, it affirmed the appeal submitted by the applicant regarding a condition number 16 that related to increases in power of the radio units. The second thing it did, your direction did, was to deny the appeal as to condition number one that related to the removal of undergrounding, which your council did not agree with the applicant to remove that condition. The third thing was to deny the appeal made by Lynn Marie DeVincent and Mr. Mark Marthaler. So in your packet tonight are resolutions to do just that. It's to adopt the three resolutions that do those three things that I just outlined. The project is categorically exempt under CEQA, and your council is required to take an action before June 30th or on or before June 30th to consummate the agreement that we have with Verizon. I will tell you that this afternoon our legal counsel has been in contact with Verizon, and I'll leave it to Mr. Abati to give you the details, provide you with those details on some conversations this afternoon. Mr. Abati.
Yes, Mayor and Council. Verizon sent correspondence today making a proposal for a modification to one of the conditions of approval. Verizon has agreed that they would extend the time on the processing agreement that David referred to, which would otherwise expire on June 30th, to August 31st, if the council is inclined to consider their proposal. Their proposal is in substance that the council modify condition of approval number 13, which states, as it currently is written, that changes or modifications to the equipment of the new streetlight pole within the antenna shroud are permissible without any city review or discretionary permits or approvals, such that the antenna shroud is not enlarged in height or width, circumference. Verizon is requesting that the city add to the end of that condition in excess of 18 inches in diameter. So in other words, what Verizon is proposing, that the condition of approval state that Verizon could make changes or modifications to the equipment inside the antenna shroud for each of the sites. The antenna shroud is the canister that is at the top of each of the poles. The antenna shroud would already contain the antenna and also the electrical meter. Verizon is proposing that the city change this condition in order to allow Verizon to have that antenna shroud be as much as 18 inches in diameter without any further approvals or any need for further permits or approvals. Currently, the shroud would be a diameter of 14.25 inches, so it is an addition of 3.75 inches in diameter. That's the proposal Verizon is making. In addition to that, other terms of the proposal is that Verizon would be withdrawing all 7 of the suspended applications for small cells in residential districts, which are also suspended under the terms of the processing agreement. Verizon would also agree not to make any additional small cell applications for any sites within the city until 2021 at the earliest. And Verizon would, of course, be agreeing not to contest or challenge or set aside the city's approvals with that modification of the condition of approval number 13. Now, the purpose of that modification appears to be that, as you'll recall, the radio was to be placed in an underground vault under the city's proposed determination, which was the Planning Commission's determination as well. Verizon would be placing the radio instead inside that antenna shroud that would be at the top of the pole, which already would again contain the antenna and it would contain the electrical meter. And so that appears to be the purpose of having that modified condition of approval. As we see it, for the council, the options are tonight to adopt the resolutions as they are in the packet if the council does not want to consider Verizon's proposal. If the council does want to consider Verizon's proposal, on the other hand, to continue this item to the first meeting in August, we would recommend to consider Verizon's proposal. At that time, there would be a public hearing on that proposal. And again, Verizon has agreed to continue the time on the processing agreement for an additional 60 or so days, taking us to August 31st, 2020.
So what happens to condition 16? It is just irrelevant, or doesn't it direct them to underground their equipment?
So the undergrounding requirement would still be in condition number 1. Verizon's counsel, I believe, is on the line for this item and can explain further, but it would appear that they would be placing the radio instead within the antenna shroud. And so there would be no need for the underground vault. That would be the only piece of equipment that was going to be in the vault. But as I said, I believe Verizon's counsel is on the line for this item tonight.
Well, I'm just more asking, isn't it condition 16 that regards undergrounding?
It was not. Condition 16 was the increase in effective radiating power, which the council did direct that we remove from the conditions of approval for the resolutions.
Oh, certainly.
Yes.
That's the one thing of.
Vice Mayor Huntley, that was condition number 1 that had the parenthesis that required the undergrounding.
Yeah, I forgot 16 was the one that we agreed to get rid of. That's cool. They told us today.
We did receive it around 12:20, I believe, today.
I also just want to point out that they were unwilling to have any flexibility with regard to the fact there's like a global pandemic going on, but suddenly now there's flexibility with the timing.
Mr. Mayor, may I ask a question of Mr. Bacci? This is Jeff Walter. John, the agreement not to reapply for any type of a cellular facility until 2021, is that just buying the city 6 months? Is that what the purpose of that is? And that means that they can apply again for commercial and or residential cell sites? It's unclear to me what that agreement really entails.
Well, it was something that came up as we were talking with Verizon's counsel this afternoon. It's something that I think Verizon's counsel could address tonight for the council. As I understand it, Verizon would be agreeing that they wouldn't make any other applications in addition to withdrawing those 7 residential applications. What their plans are for Sonoma and what they would be willing to agree to as part of this proposal, I think would need to be addressed by Verizon's counsel.
Yes, I think we need to get greater clarity on that.
I thought their proposal to withdraw was just that they would withdraw the ugly on top of the telephone poles and then replace them with whatever design. We're not going to put anything in the residentials. It's just that we're not going to make you fight us on the telephone pole ones. That was kind of my understanding.
The 7 suspended applications right now are the ones in the residential districts. They are all utility pole designs. So they would be withdrawing all of those. They would be going forward with the streetlight pole design that the council gave direction to approve with this one change to the condition of approval.
So I'm looking at the letter that they had at least distributed to us, and none of these details are in there other than they want condition 13 changed. So are the rest of this is the things that you guys have talked about?
The utility pole, there is a reference to the utility pole design, and that is a reference to withdrawing the 7 applications within residential districts. I did question Verizon's counsel about what would be the plan as far as any other applications. Would they be agreeable to a period of time that they would be not making any additional applications, because it was not clear to me as to whether they wanted to simply make some different applications. So that was the response that I got. The extension of the tolling period, that was something that we requested of them, since otherwise the city would have to make a final determination and essentially adopt the resolutions that are on tonight's meeting.
I mean, return to utility pole installations sound to me like their whole thing was, if you don't do what we want, we're just going to give you ugly utility poles everywhere. I feel like they probably thought about this before noon today.
Shit, what did I do?
Well, I mean, I feel like we can proceed with this item and see what happens. You can always talk in public comment if they want.
No questions from council? No? All right. I'll go ahead and open it up for public comment then. Let me get my timer out before anybody starts making public comment. And all right, I see Sonoma Neighbors for Safe Tech. And whenever you're ready. We can't hear you if you're talking. You need to unmute yourself.
Hello?
There you are.
Okay. Thank you. Sorry.
You're a bit loud though.
Okay. Let's see.
That's okay. It's allowed to be loud.
I want to not be impolite, but okay. Hello, Mayor, Council, and staff. 2 weeks ago, on July 15th, the City Council heard 2 appeals regarding applications for installing 3 cell towers near downtown Sonoma. This was, and still is apparently now, a very important decision that was made by the City Council. Our community has a lot at stake, and we felt that the opportunity to fully represent our community interests during the meeting didn't get as much airtime as we all hoped. The focus of our community work has always been to protect the community and the city from unnecessary and unwelcomed Verizon small cell towers. Our appeal emphasized the importance of denying all the permits due to valid and legal reasons, most importantly, aesthetics. Across the United States, both real estate appraisers and brokers have rendered professional opinions which support common sense. When wireless facilities are installed close to business properties, their value goes down, anywhere from 5 to 20%. Federal courts recognize that it is perfectly proper for a local zoning authority to accept this direct evidence of the reduction of property values from the professional licensed real estate brokers. In our memorandum, we presented 4 letters from local Sonoma real estate professionals with outstanding credentials who expressed their concerns about this potential loss in property value. Concerning the recent offer to modify the aesthetic impact of the poles, we feel that our argument all along has been that it's unappealing, and our community members have also expressed their opposition to the way they look in the proposal, and certainly enlarging them is out of the question. Overall, we are extremely grateful for all of the hard work that the city staff, planning commissioners, and council have done on this project. And we hope that the resolution is passed. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next, we have Mr. Albritton. Did I pronounce that correctly? I hope it did. We cannot hear you if you're speaking.
Sorry about that. You can hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Sorry about that. Paul Albritton. Thank you, Mayor Harvey, for your indulgence in taking this off the consent calendar. It does take time for a large organization like Verizon Wireless to be flexible. Executive staff still is unable to vault radios and doesn't feel that that's feasible. And so they considered changing gears, going to a smaller, lower wattage radio that would be included in the antenna shroud, wouldn't have as much coverage, but we thought would fit the aesthetic concerns that you were having by only increasing the diameter by 3 3/4 inches. And we thought that everything else about the resolution could stay the same, and that we would avoid a conflict with the city and allow us to move forward. Mr. Abachi, being your capable counsel, asked for additional concessions, such as not filing applications for a period of time, and the other concessions that he provided to you this evening, withdrawing our existing residential applications. And we agreed that we would be happy to do that. I was only able to get executive response on that this afternoon regarding those other issues. It's a modest request we asked in order to continue to work with the city rather than enter into conflict. We didn't think that it would take additional time. We thought you could that would be a simple suggestion that you could respond to, but we are willing to come back if you wish in 60 days to discuss it again. But we thought a modest 3 inches in diameter increase from 7 1/4 inches to 9 inches in radius would be an elegant way of resolving our disagreement regarding vaulting. And I can answer any questions you have about that.
Thank you, Mr. Albritton. Do I have anybody else for public comment? Did we receive any written public comments?
No, Mayor Harvey, no written public comments.
All right. So I'll go ahead and close the public comment period and bring it back to council. I see Jeff Walters got his finger up, 2 fingers up now.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If I might, with your indulgence, Mr. Albritton, can you explain to me the proposal to not make any application for small cell facility until 2021? Is the city essentially buying 6 months of no application from Verizon, and then in 2021 Verizon will consider its options at that time? You need to unmute yourself, Mr. Albritton.
There we go. Thank you. Old dog, new tricks. And the request came to this afternoon from your counsel, Mr. Abachi. Verizon is evaluating its plans for Sonoma, and it's a constantly changing communications world. The present intent would be to move forward with the downsized light standards. We have a ways to go in negotiating some encroachment agreement terms and other issues and designs that will be a while before encroachment permits and building permits are obtained and fiber is brought in and the facilities are installed and performance evaluated. So It's easy to say that we wouldn't be filing for anything in the next 6 months, and it may be quite a bit longer after that. But that was the response I was able to give today. I think Verizon has heard from the community, and we're trying to evaluate and determine what the best step forward is. My expectation is it would be longer than 6 months. That was the commitment we were asked about, and that's the commitment that I was able to obtain from Verizon executives today. I hope that answers your question.
I think
there's no flurry of applications waiting for Sonoma or the city of Sonoma. We're moving forward with an agreement in Napa, but mostly we're focusing on metropolitan areas where we've got this tremendous demand for service, as we do in Sonoma. But Sonoma is a priority for Verizon Wireless, but there are other major cities where the resources are also being utilized.
Additional questions of the applicant?
Thank you again.
Thank you, Paul, or Mr. Arbor. Excellent. All right. Do we have comments from council?
Well, yeah, for me, Madeline, I'm not good at the 11th hour. So that's just how I feel right this very moment.
Maybe I could give some context to the process to give the council a better, excuse me, Vice Mayor Hunley, I saw that you were about to speak, but our thinking was that tonight would probably not be the time to address this proposal. It's a change in design, not significant, but there's a change in design, and the designs that have occurred and the changes that have occurred over the course of time have not been major in terms of the size necessarily, but they certainly have created a keen interest in the community. And so the thinking was that even this change should be brought back to the community, and that the matter would be rescheduled for hearing in the first meeting of August. If you're inclined to entertain this proposal, we'd recommend that it be brought back at a public hearing in the first meeting of August. And we'd also recommend, if you're inclined to entertain this proposal, that you would continue tonight's proceedings to that same meeting. So there'd be two things teed up for you at your first meeting in August: the resolutions that are before you tonight, as well as the other proposal that you've just heard about.
I have a question for the applicant. Thank you, Jeff. I really appreciate it. I think that's a great advice. The question I have for Mr. Albritton is, what was previously contained in this shroud and what's being contained now, so we can understand like that fundamental difference? You have to unmute.
Mr. Albritton, you need to unmute.
If you are.
Yeah, I did once. I did again. Now, can you hear me?
We can, yes.
Yes, I'm sorry. To answer your question directly, the radome shroud contained only antennas. The radio, we started out with 43 40-watt radios. We reduced it to one 20-watt radio, which is what you saw behind the street sign, which Verizon honestly thought would get approved. And this would reduce it again to radios probably about 5 watts that are small enough to fit in the shroud with the antennas.
So before we had basically a receiver, and now we have a transmitter in the shroud. Would that be an accurate?
Well, the antennas transmit and receive.
Oh, okay.
So it's really just a separation between the radio and the antenna. The lower the wattage, the more line loss you get with the coaxial cable. And so the radio is put closer to the antenna to avoid the line loss between the antenna and the radio. And there are products on the market that we can use that would be designed to go into the shroud that we're using in other jurisdictions.
Okay. All right.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, you can go.
Mr. Mayor, could I ask a question? Has this been done in other places, Mr. Albritton?
Yes, you mean where you've got integrated radios inside of an antenna? Cupertino is an example.
Okay.
I think Sacramento, Bakersfield. Trying to think of a. Generally, it means you need to have more overall facilities to get the same level of coverage. But what we're trying to get here is actually capacity offload in the commercial areas. We're trying to increase the capacity network of the network so that it's not overloaded.
Thank you.
You've been waiting to make a comment for a while.
I'm ready. Madeline, I hear you about the 11th hour situation that we're in. My first thought is that I'm confused that a company that had developed a technology that is so dependent and impactful on local governments seems to not truly understand local governments. And 5 hours before our meetings begin, because we had a closed session starting at 5 today. I mean, it's a pretty disrespectful thing to just drop something on us, especially if it's something that's existed in other places. So it just puts us in a like completely tough spot of being blindsided with something. The second is, it sounds like the result is going to be, if this is the direction we went, then there would be ultimately more antennas, and whatever concession about not filing anything until 2021, I don't really see what that does, except I guess buy us a little bit of time. I'm still reminded about the fact that all of this has been going on, and probably one of the most difficult situations the city has had, and that's including the 2017 fires, where we were concerned that our city was going to burn down. So suddenly there's flexibility in the timing of this when there wasn't. The last month, the city staff has been working 80 hours a week preparing a very difficult budget, which we approved tonight, as well as trying to get our businesses back reopened. So all of this I just find to be incredibly disrespectful to the city, considering what difficult times it's been, and that all along there was flexibility there to put this off, which maybe if we could have had a more complete conversation at the hearing rather than being surprised at the last minute. So that being said, if my colleagues are interested in giving this 2 more months just to see if there's anything worth discussing, I would support that. I would also support just moving ahead with the decision that we made at the prior meeting.
Councilmember Agramonte?
I heard Sam, I guess he agreed with you, Rachel?
My dog barks at the moon sometimes, and it's one of those. No howling, just barking.
Well, you know what, I'm thinking of a continuance, but I agree with you, Vice Mayor. And I think you were suggesting we may move forward with 1, 2, and 3. Is that what you're saying, along with? Did I hear that? I'm sorry.
Correct. Yes. 1, 2, and 3 would be the result of the conversation that we had during the public hearing, and I would be comfortable with moving ahead with our original decision tonight as well, or giving it 2 months to see if anything magically improves.
Councilmember Cook?
Well, I voted no last time, and I do not like 11th hour stuff. I'm just waiting for somebody to make a motion either way.
All right. Yeah, I don't appreciate the 11th hour either. I guess, I mean, I thought that we had discussed this. I'm kind of surprised that this wasn't proposed previously, considering that it exists in other areas. And we've been at this for a very long time. It's also, this one seems to be, again, kind of, it's weird because every single time it seems like, here's this gift, but if you don't take it, I'm going to sue you. And so it seems a little odd, we don't want to pursue a conflict with the city. We all know what that means. I'm a little concerned about this. What was the motion? I apologize. I'm just trying to remember what Vice Mayor Hundley and Councilmember Agramonte went with. Are you both looking to extend and talk about this in August? Are we looking to stick with what we have and not allow this to be considered? What are both of you?
I would say that I'm open to extending, but I'm also prepared right now to approve 1, 2, and 3 as we discussed and decided at last meeting.
Yeah.
So may I ask John, is that something that is available to us?
So the options for the council would be, one, just go ahead and approve the resolutions that have been prepared in the packet. 2 would be to go ahead and continue this item, which is the item for approval of the resolution. It would be put on for a public hearing. Notice the public hearing in the meantime, and so the Verizon's proposed change to the condition of approval number 13 would be considered by the council at that time.
I think does that feel like direction, Mr. Mayor?
Not really.
Mayor Harvey, maybe it's just, sorry if I just, if council is interested in continuing, I guess, we have not really planned out the August, September calendars yet. So if you are going to continue, maybe put it on that first one. But again, as we look at things, it may end up going to the next meeting. Again, my understanding is the proposal allows us 60 days through the end of, or is it through the end of September or the end of August, John?
Through the end of August. The 60 days would be through the end of August. It could be continued, just continuing the item to one of those 2 meetings in August, but we would have to make a final decision at the end of August.
How much staff time do we expect this to take to prepare this additional meeting? Is this a quick thing? I mean, just kind of on a basic, back of the envelope kind of deal? Is this going to be an exorbitant amount of time that staff is going to spend on this? Because I know David's worked on this for a long time. And Kathy's worked on this a long time, and I'm sure John has as well. So
we would foresee that they would provide us the photo simulations you saw in the packet last time, plans that would show the changes they're making to the design. We would foresee they would provide us an RF study. There may be other information they want to provide. Certainly, if they don't provide the information that the council is satisfied with at the time that it's heard, the council then, would have that option to go ahead and approve these 3 resolutions that are on the packet at that time.
I see that our applicant's counsel has dropped off. If we were interested in inquiring about a different amount of time to consider this, given the timing of it, it's really landing at a horrific time. Like that's actually like not even an option. So, I mean, my thing is, if we're going to take it up again, I'd rather do it in December.
we want to bring Paul in to answer.
Well, there he is.
So Paul, did you hear Vice Mayor?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. I've been here. The 60 days was proposed by staff, and Verizon agreed to that. I suspect that, yes, they would agree to more time. But I don't have immediate authority for that, but I think if it's not too much longer, that I can go out on a limb and extend it a while longer, maybe 90 days or 120 days, if that's what you're, what you're pushing out is the deadline. I suppose the action or the meeting could occur before that, but what we're putting out is the deadline.
I think just considering what we have, you get into November and there's a new issue that arises there, but if the deadline was by the end of the year, and what I'm wondering if this has to be authorized is if we could, would it be possible, our city attorneys to take an action that was contingent on successfully negotiating extension of this till the end of the year?
Well, I think it would certainly be preferable if Mr. Albritton could tell us that there would be a date, if it's the end of the year, that there would be an agreement. We already have the agreement for the 60 days, that we have an agreement to December 31st to make a determination.
Okay.
Maybe one thing that the Mr. Albertin could take back and communicate is clearly we've got staff taking, and we are dark in the month of July. We had a variety of things that were programmed for August. And again, the pandemic and the economic uncertainty is occupying a variety of time. So again, if there was an outer edge of when we would have to do it, and if it could be done sooner, then maybe it gets done sooner. But there is a variety of city priorities that we're trying to work stuff through.
Can I suggest that we can, if the council is interested in entertaining these proposals, that we continue this matter. We have a 60-day approval by Mr. Albritton right now. We continue the hearing tonight to the first meeting in August, by which time we'll expect Mr. Albritton to get back to us on the amount of time he can add to that, and we can determine based upon that representation what we want to do at that first meeting in August or before.
So that means like within 60 days, we'll only come back to talk about the specific thing of either voting on the thing that's right in front of us or officially deciding that we're going to consider something new and having new public hearings. Is that right?
Let's see, what's the best way to approach this? I think that thing to do is just continue this until the first meeting in August. So that's the only thing that's going to be teed up within this 60-day period until Mr. Albritton gets back to us, give us an idea how much more time he can add to the 60 days that we requested and he's granted. And we want that response, I'd say by a week from today. And I think he would be able to get that authorization within 7 days.
Yes, I can. I'm sorry, I don't have it this evening.
Willing to continue this to the first meeting in August.
So, Mr. Albritton, are you still on?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, this is Madeline Agramonte. In your defense, I still don't understand mute and unmute. Doesn't matter about an education, how often you use it. People are always going to say you're muted, unmuted. Don't pay attention.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So can I make a motion to continue this until the first meeting in August?
You may make that motion.
Second.
All right, roll call vote.
Councilmember Cook,
I'm going to abstain.
Vice Mayor Hunley,
Yes.
Councilmember Agramonte,
Yes.
Mayor Harvey.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion carries 3-0-1-1.
Thank you.
Message our fellow council member to come back in. We're moving on. We do have Amy back.
Message to Mayor Harvey.
Good, yes. So I'm sure she'll here shortly.
What is our next item? I'm confused. I'm sorry.
Item 6.3 on the sales tax measure. Discussion, consideration, possible action to adopt a resolution calling for education. We're calling for an election. There it is. On ballot measure, continue the existing voter-approved funding of a transaction and use sales tax to fund general city services. Amy is back. City manager, item 6.3. I don't think Amy needs to hear me read it. She's good.
Great.
All right.
Mayor Harvey, members of council and community. So the item before council is Mayor Harvey this is discuss an extension of the city's half-cent sales tax. The council discussed this at the May 8th budget workshop, and there was direction to bring this forward and for council to consider putting this on the November 2020 ballot. So this was originally put in place by the council with the loss of redevelopment in 2012. It was extended again in 2016. At each time it's been a 5-year tax. The recommendation from staff now is to have this be an ongoing half-cent sales tax. Prior to the pandemic, it was generating 2.5 million, which is about 12% of the city's general fund, and has helped backfill some of the loss of redevelopment funding. It is set to expire September 30th, 2022. And as council knows, typically general tax measures need to be placed on the ballot when council members are running for election. And so that is where we are tonight. Otherwise, if council waits to the November 21 ballot or a March ballot, the issue with those times is the council has to declare a fiscal emergency. It might be in one, but hopefully not, but you have to declare it in order to do the extension. Here, that declaration and those findings are not required. And we are asking council to basically put this general tax on. It does require 2/3 vote of the council, which is 4 out of 5 of the council members to support placing on the ballot. I will just read the proposed language that staff has put together. Again, we are limited to 75 words. It says to continue funding general city services, including police, fire, emergency medical, emergency preparedness, maintenance of streets, parks, and open space, and community services, supporting Sonoma's quality of life. Shall the city of Sonoma extend the existing voter-approved sales tax of 0.5%, estimated 2.58 million annually on an ongoing basis until ended by voters, with no increase to the current rate, and increase the city's annual appropriations limit by the sales tax revenues for the next 4 years. So I want to thank our Assistant City Attorney, John Abachi, who worked with me to put this piece together. And again, staff believes that this is critical to maintaining Sonoma's quality of life and financial stability. So happy to answer any questions of the council.
Are we able to discuss this language at all?
You are, though if we're going to make changes, I'll need to pull it up and play with the word count. So if you give me a minute. I will say that we looked at a variety of different language and different measures, both the last couple and other sales tax measures, and again, trying to hit some of the key points that we think may be of interest to the electorate. So let me find.
I mean, the reason I'd ask this is I know that Santa Rosa is currently in an issue with their Measure O, which required that they is now requiring they spend a certain amount of money on police and 911, and it's affected their ability to basically shift funding to a certain extent. It's emergency response times basically, and so I wonder about having the first thing that we list be police. So I would suggest maybe
General,
public safety.
right?
What's that?
It's a general tax, right?
Right.
It is not limited to anything.
Well, I just think just for the language piece of it, I just would say, just given the times, just changing to including public safety.
You could say public safety instead of police fire. Those, you could swap those two languages, those two words for the police and fire. We are right at 75 words. Again, it is a general tax. So I always think, having worked on tax measures in a variety of cities, I think it's really important to the integrity of the voters to be clear and list really where are the key places we spend our money, which this is where we spend our general fund. And also to be very clear, it is including, but it's not, it is some of these things, it's not excluding. we try to write language that I think creates good integrity with the voters so they're clear about what they're voting on.
Maybe just the ordering change would be fine.
We could say public safety instead of police and fire if those, or it could be modified in terms of the order of the language. Again, this is something the council, you all can provide feedback on.
Other questions of council? No? Okay. Bring it out to public for a public comment. Seeing nobody raise their hand, I'll bring it back. Do we have any written? Oh, we got Tom Conlon.
Hi there, can you hear me?
Yes, but only just. I'd speak up a little bit.
Thank you. Let me just, there we go. I've got the phone on too. Thank you for taking my comment tonight. I just would point out that we are heading into pretty serious recession for some, especially for some fraction of our population. And asking for a half cent at this time seems to be quite a lot. I know it's a continuation of an existing sales tax measure, but I would be remiss if I didn't point out the regressive nature of sales taxes and how they tend to fall most heavily on the portion of the population with the least ability to pay. Also, I would just point, I agree that the language around funding police and fire or public safety, which is simply a euphemism for that, is just a bad time to be doing that, particularly when the city really has taken no significant action, so far as I can tell, to address the crisis of policing that we're experiencing throughout the whole society right now. So I think it's a bad time to put sales tax measures on the ballot in November, and I hope you'll consider that in your decision tonight. Thank you for your consideration of my comments.
All right. Seeing no additional public comment, I'll bring it back to council. Go ahead, Councilmember Harrington.
So originally, several years ago, I had thought that I would not support extending the sales tax because it is a regressive tax, and the evidence shows that the majority of the tax is actually paid by people who live in Sonoma as opposed to tourists, which is something that we're sort of thought, but actually doesn't turn out to be true. And so I did not think I would support extending it. I did support increasing the hotel tax so that we would have new sources of revenue to make up for it. And we did promise the voters at the last extension that we would look for alternate methods to make up for the shortfall. But we're in an unprecedented world, and the options before us with the current budget, even as it is, would mean deep, deep cuts to the public services we provide. And I think we don't have options in front of us, but it would really mean people not being able to utilize city services. And I also think, one example is that for people who do live in cramped quarters, having access to well-maintained and functional public spaces like parks are really important. And during COVID, having spaces outdoors where people can go is also important. And those are the types of things that would be cut if we cut back our staff, which is already a skeleton crew of, less than 40 people. So I think there is definitely a political balancing to be done. But the situation we're in right now, and obviously it's up to the voters to decide anyway, but the situation we're in now, I think requires at least asking the voters to fund this tax one more time. And I think we are in a new world in general. And I think the pain people would feel if we don't pass this tax would be sizable. And I do want to respond to Tom Conlon. I don't know, because about the police issue and the budget and the tax, just to say that David Cook and I worked on the police contract for probably 6 months with Kathy Capriola. They wanted an 11% increase. We cut that completely. This entire council voted to do that. They were using police dogs. We eliminated the entire program. And we set up a second tier of cuts, which involves the school resource officer, which will be discussed at a later time. So it's possible that people didn't watch that meeting because not a single person made a public comment at that time. But to allege that we have done nothing and haven't reviewed it, just so you know, I find that offensive. Those are my comments. I'm going to support the sales tax this time.
I'll go next.
Go ahead.
So I will be supporting this. Like city finances, I think at some point it would be beneficial. We haven't really had a full overview of what the options are, but the options are basically a property related fees and taxes like assessments and bonds, which is how a lot of things are done. So you can either put things on people's property tax bills, which can raise revenue. The hotel tax, which is extremely beneficial when the hotels are open, which is not always guaranteed. Or with your standard sales tax, you can increase the amount of revenue being produced. Generally, sales tax reliant cities rely on big box stores like a Costco. Like those are huge for city revenue. So it's like thinking realistically about like where is our money going to come from, and it, you know, I think we have a very small conservative budget that we have, but it has to be funded from somewhere. So it's like, where's it going to be? So I think that our sales tax, extending this, I think has been very successful. You know, the idea that the revenue would be replaced was nice, but when you look at what the options are, unless we're going to greatly expand, you know, our commercial base, it's not really going to happen that way. I also just wanted to point out that there are at least a few cities in Sonoma County who have not had their own sales tax before this year that are all running sales tax this year because it's just a reality. It's getting very hard to be a city and to be funded and to try to keep up with things, much less try to do things on top of like maintaining the bare minimum. So I think it's really important. I think that our community is going to understand the importance of this, but looking at the words, if there was interest in some wordsmithing, one of the things, like I think that even sort of starting the list with emergency preparedness and sort of shifting the list all the way around so that you end with police, fire, medical emergency. And I understand why it includes supporting Sonoma's quality of life. I think that we have many community services that are not just quality of life, but are just like sustaining life. So there could be some flexibility, but if sort of putting where the priorities are, like I think that starting with emergency preparedness would be impactful. And in lieu of supporting Sonoma's quality of life, which I do think is effective with voters. I think that including something like rebuilding our emergency reserves or rebuilding emergency reserves would be appropriate this time. So it's 3 words and 5. So those are some thoughts I had.
I'll go next, Mayor. Yeah, Vice Mayor Hunley kind of took the words out of my mouth. I remember when this first started and the sales tax, and probably the reason the city of Sonoma is in such a good shape right now in a pandemic is because we do have those reserves, which do come from a tax. This is a continuation. I remember at the time voting for this, and the reason that I always had it was before the state took it from us. That was the thought back then: is better get your hands on the tax before the state takes it, and we can have local control on that. And I think still today it's the same thing. I will be supporting this. As far as wordsmithing, I do agree that somehow it should say that it will give us flexibility to increase our reserves without making promises, because we don't want to make promises of a certain reserve that we have to get up to, but letting the taxpayer know that this money is going into something good. So that's kind of my take on it, and hopefully it'll pass and Sonoma will continue on saving and putting reserves away after the pandemic.
Madeline?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I've heard a little bit of using an euphemism, public safety instead of what's there. I agree that it's regressive, but you know what? We have serious financial issues right now. And it's like, I don't know, it's like shoveling the ocean back with all of this. It's very difficult. It's very difficult, and people anticipate getting good services. And this is one of the ways that we can do that, not just, and I think it's something people don't understand is that police, fire, all of that, public safety is the biggest part of every budget. It's between 51 and 54%, I would imagine, of every city. And it's not just personnel, it's all this specialized equipment that they use. So I would support this. I think it's something that we need, and we will have to work very diligently to allow people to express what they feel and to share the details of how we really believe this will help us, and know that their voices are valued. Thanks.
Great. I appreciate the comments, Madeline. And we're screen sharing now.
Sorry, I didn't.
No, you're fine. That's okay. It's just a change. Yeah, I'll also be supporting this tonight. I think that there are obviously issues with regressive taxation and sales taxes, but I agree strongly with the comments that Councilmember Harrington made about access to public parks, and the additional services that the city provides. Maintaining roads is extremely important. Access to the bike path, the fact that we had the money to put together an emergency shelter during PSPS to give people places to charge, the way that we're able to respond to disasters and emergencies is really, really crucial. And I think also we've been asked to do more. Small cities have been asked to do more and more and more as as larger issues have come forward. We were asked to, we have a sustainability coordinator now. I really appreciate that position. I'm glad that we have it. And I think that, we will use that position to address issues like climate change and the rest of it. And so I think as we're asked to do more, maintaining the level of funding that we currently have is really important. I agree with the comments made by Vice Mayor Hundley and Councilmember Cook about reserves. I think reserves are really important, and I think it is really prudent to remind voters of the fact that we are fairly strong compared to other cities because of those reserves and because we've been financially prudent. And I think that everybody is blessed and happy to see the beautiful plaza, which is extremely well maintained. And all the work that our public works does is something that we all benefit from greatly. The work that our city manager does and our finance team does to make sure that the city's funds are balanced, to bring forward projects that the public wants are really, really important. And I think that we provide a really high value, high level of service and a high value for voters. And so I absolutely support putting this on, and we'll be supporting it tonight and as it goes on the ballot.
I just noticed in the comparison, the original, it still has police, fire twice.
Yeah, sorry
If we're
about
trying
that.
to compare them.
Yeah, I think I should have I started to edit and then thought, oh, let me have the original version. And then
Yeah, no, that's a good idea. But
so what I heard council say is to remove the order, get rid of the quality of life, substitute in rebuild reserve. So to continue funding general city services, including emergency preparedness, emergency medical, maintenance of streets, parks, and open space, community services, rebuild reserves, and probably need an adjective in there, and fund public safety. Shall the city of Sonoma extend the existing voter-approved sales tax of 0.5%, estimated 2.58 million annually on an ongoing basis, blah, blah, blah. So is that?
How about maintain public safety?
There you go. There's also a comma after parks that shouldn't be there.
I was taught weird old school, sorry. I still haven't Sheen, some
Oh,
of
is that, it's supposed to be maintenance of streets, parks, and open space?
Yeah,
You
we
could
may
do,
need to add some.
semicolons.
I
If
may
this was
need to
like a
put some
list.
semicolons in.
They should all be semicolons.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. So, no, and I'm with you on the Oxford comma. I'm also a fan of it. I was just
So maybe
thinking that was
back
yeah.
there.
I see. I get it now. So we have maintenance of streets, but maintain public safety. It should just be maintain streets. I don't know. Are those different? I feel like our grammar's not really that consistent in this, but I don't know if it matters.
It's because we're tinkering with what was already a decent product.
Well, because the list is predominantly like nouns rather than like action. Like it would be
to continue funding general city services, including emergency preparedness, emergency medical, I don't think you need maintain for streets.
So it would be maintenance of, it was going to be a noun still. I guess that was correct. I was just more thinking about, we put maintain, maintenance, new services, and then it's just rebuild reserves and maintain public safety are the two that are differently.
I just think you could get rid of emergency medical and roll that into public safety, and then you could keep supporting Sonoma's quality of life and add rebuilding reserves.
Well, you could change emergency medical to ambulance services. That's what it is, right?
That is what it is.
75 word count.
Then can we put it at the end with public safety?
Emergency medical and ambulance services are the same amount of words.
So we'll end with public safety and ambulance services.
We're at 73 currently. You have 2 more words to play with.
Exclamation point times 2.
Well, I think there should be a comma after the city services in the first 5 words.
Right, our awesome parks.
But still, it's maintain. I mean, it could just be ambulance services and public safety without maintain, because we don't really have verbs anywhere else except for reserves. I don't know.
I think it's a comma after everything, after including with a colon. Emergency preparedness, maintenance of streets, parks.
Well, this is only because we have the one.
Sound better than maintenance of streets?
What's your idea?
Street maintenance.
You could do street maintenance, parks and open space as a combo.
Yes. Street maintenance, semicolon, parks and open space, semicolon.
If you get infrastructure in there, it always helps.
Parks and open space, community services.
I just think
rebuild reserves feels awkward, isn't it?
Well, because there's a verb there and there's a verb at the end. Because the last one could be public safety and ambulance services. I just don't really know how you encapsulate the idea of rebuilding reserves in a noun. Like it would be like.
What if you said reserve investment, reserve?
How about maintain?
Replenishment? How about replenishment?
I like maintain too, David, but we've seen it before.
I know.
And I don't like saying replenish reserves because it's like focusing on the fact that we've taken money out of the reserves.
Well, why don't you just put rebuild emergency reserves? It's just an example. It's not limited to.
Well, it'll be grammatically inconsistent, but I'm fine with it.
Rebuild emergency reserves?
Yeah, only because rebuild is a verb and the rest of them don't have verbs except for the last one, maintain ambulance services and public safety.
Do you get more words for a tweet than you get for this?
Yeah. Well, that's character.
It's characters for tweets.
How many words are there now, Kathy?
74.
So when they ask me what my most important meeting was in 8 years, it'll have to be this one.
if it passes, it'll be important.
Okay.
So after public safety, should be a
What if you did,
comma or something else?
what if this is continue funding general city services and replenish reserves up here? No.
I don't feel like this is
I
like
think that would be great. And rebuild reserves, including blah blah blah.
I like your idea, Kathy. That was good.
But is this for voters to read and be?
This is what they will read. This is what will be in the voter. I mean, the full ordinance is there too, but again, the question is what the majority of folks read. So this language needs to encapsulate how we're going to use the funding, have integrity, also be clear to the voters and not confusing.
So if I was going to make a headline,
advocacy either.
If I was going to make
it's got to be public info.
I would not make rebuild reserves the headline. First of all, it's not the primary thing we're going to do, and number two, I don't think it's.
It sounds like we're not fiscally prudent.
It's not that appealing.
Yeah.
So, and also, it's not something that's a primary focus of the use of the funds, presumptively. So
the other option is to take this out.
Maintain reserves, even though there's hella maintenance already.
Well, no, what was it? I liked it in there. I think it's literal. We need to rebuild our reserves, maintain.
I think we can make that argument outside of this statement.
Remember, there will be part of what you're doing. There will be public information. Again, we can't advocate for the measure, but can provide public information. So there will be public information going out, to the community through our current means that we currently communicate.
What, with respect to the reserves, what about, I can't think of the words right now, but not in decreasing reserves or something.
Oh, you mean like
thing I like about rebuild is like I just find that including rebuild emergency reserves is kind of reflective. Like we want to be back to like a responsible place because we have great reserves, but
right.
Not use them. I think that this looks good
because this is an ongoing thing. And it's it like focus on the fact that there's a hole in the city's budget right now that like brings that to top of mind. That's why I don't like it. I just think maintain reserve.
How about fine? Maintain is fine. Then we have to get rid of maintain in front of ambulance because that can't have two maintains.
No, you can't. In this, you can't.
I was just going to say that if I have to decide whether to vote for a new tax or not, and I'm stressed, and I have to decide whether you can start saving money or I can keep money and I'm broke, I would rather I keep money. So that would be the logic I would go with, that if I'm struggling financially, I don't want to give more money so that you can start saving money.
Yeah.
That's fine. So we're going to rebuild emergency services and we can drop maintain too, because it could just be and ambulance services and public safety
because like reserves are like going to Paris or something for an
exactly
or bailing yourself out when there's a global pandemic.
Put that back in.
Do you want to put you could put supporting Sonoma's quality of life back in,
sure,
which is what the money is doing. It's providing these services and the why to support the quality of life that we appreciate and love in our community.
Kathy, you led us back into a circle, and I love it. Put that back in.
No, this is good, and that
75.
Although you need well, first of all, you have to take the and away from in front of ambulance, and then a semicolon after public safety, and then an and after that semicolon.
And add 2 exclamation points.
And at the end, 2 exclamation points. Question mark. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Count as a word. What about emojis?
Okay, so can I read it out loud, or do one of you want to read it out loud?
Yeah, go ahead,
Harvey.
Okay.
Oh, me? Oh, God. Yeah. To continue funding general city services, including emergency preparedness, infrastructure, street maintenance, parks and open space, community services, ambulance services and public safety, and supporting Sonoma's quality of life, shall City of Sonoma, I almost like a the there.
The
City of Sonoma, extend the existing voter-approved sales tax of 0.05%, 0.50%, estimated 2.5 million annually on an ongoing basis until ended by voters, with no increase to the current rate, and increase the city's annual appropriations limit by sales tax revenue for the next 4 years.
Wait, so what's for 4 years? Just increasing your annual appropriation?
Yeah, the appropriations limit can only be for 4 years. This is a legally required item. If, again, we may, for the next 4 years, we may not need this because our revenue has gone down. And the GAN limit, we've got about sorry, I had this number and I'm not sure now, but so this is to make sure that the new tax comes in, goes, and we're not considering this within our GAN limit.
So this is a question for the city attorney, but in the ballot question, which I do think there should be a V in front of city, do we have to say the appropriations is for 4 years, or can we just say and increase the city's annual appropriations years, and then it is according to the text of the text?
Is John still on? John, I think research that. I think it does require it to be stated for 4 years.
Yeah, John and I talked this through, and he felt that we went back and forth whether to have fiscal years in here or what to do. And he felt strongly based on the law that we needed to say the 4 years.
Yes, that's right. Sorry. Yes, that's right. It does need to state for the next 4 years.
I wanted to ask a question. Is ambulance too finite? Should it be emergency services? I don't think it's the same as public safety.
Well, it was emergency medical. It's more exciting than ambulance. It just like this in its literal verbiage is accurate, but the way that it reads, it just sounds like the whole thing is for 4 years, even though that's not what it says. I mean, I'm fine with it. It's literally correct. It's just.
Well, I see what you're saying. There's emergency preparedness, so that's repetitive a little, right?
No, for ambulance services, it was just emergency medical, which is.
Rachel, if you were to add or substitute a semicolon after the words current rate, would that assist in limiting the 4 year limitation just to the appropriation limit?
I think so, but then it makes me wonder what kind of punctuation should be before the word shall.
Now that sounds like a Sonoma word. Shall. Didn't that get us into trouble once?
So council, you are right now, that is 75 words. And
numbers
what
count?
75.
Do numbers count? Like if you were to put in after the words City of Sonoma, put a parentheses 1 close parentheses, and then in front of the word
that would be clarifying if it was a list.
The word increase, put paren 2 close paren.
Yeah, and then you can make it a comma instead of a semicolon.
Yeah, you could.
I don't know, John, you've looked at this. Does John have an answer to that? I believe these numbers will count in our count.
They count. They may.
And Rebecca might have
So what
something
if we
to say,
just
but yeah, numbers do count. City of Sonoma is 1 word.
So what if we just got rid of ambulance services?
City of Sonoma is 1 word.
If
City
they're
of Sonoma is 1 word.
Yeah, if they're
Oh, that's
calculated
right.
the same as statement of qualifications, the City of Sonoma is 1 word, but the numbers do count.
They do.
We're at 73 actually, because
So then you're at 70. We would be at, if I take these out, we're at 73.
because it's 2. Yeah.
Well, I think that is clarifying to have those numbers there.
I just isn't the purpose of a semicolon to connect 2 sentences that otherwise couldn't be connected except for the semicolon? So when we have it in place of a comma after emergency preparedness, although that is not a sentence, that is grammatically incorrect. Isn't that
the semicolon can be used as a comma when you have commas within a semicolon list. It's like a clarifying way to do lists. Although we got rid of all of the weird things, we could change it back to commas now because it was the street, parks, and open space. That was the reason that we did it. So they can all be commas now.
It should be commas.
Mm-hmm.
So what was the determination with the list numbers that we are within count? I think we could just trade ambulance services for the numbers.
You could also take, it doesn't have to be parks and open space. It could be parks, comma, open space also. Parks, open space. There's one word.
And then that semicolon after rate.
You can get rid of this other and too after ambulance services.
Yeah. Yes, correct.
If we do it all as a hashtag, does that make it just one word?
This is why we need emojis. Okay.
Nice try.
You're at 76, but you're really at 74 if City of Sonoma is one word.
Hashtag make it. Do it.
To continue funding general city services, including emergency preparedness, infrastructure, street maintenance, parks, open space, community services, ambulance services, public safety, and supporting Sonoma's quality of life, shall the City of Sonoma 1 extend the existing voter approval sales tax of 0.5%, estimated $2,580,000 annually on an ongoing basis until ended by voters with no increase to the current rate, and 2, increase the city's annual appropriations limit by sales tax revenues for the next 4 years. I think that sounds great.
I think that's great.
Yeah, I like it.
Very good.
Well done, guys.
Good teamwork, you guys. Okay, so I'm taking this and I'm putting this up here now. And
Kathy,
this
do you have an
now
extra
is
comment? Do you have an extra comma after city services? Should that comma be there?
I think a comma belongs before the word including.
I like it.
Okay.
okay. So did I capture it correctly? So this was your resolution. We've now made this change the language to here. So if you want to make this is I'm going to do this in yellow, I mean in red. So this has been edited to clarify, and if council wants to move forward with this language, then council, you can take a motion, and thank you for the collaborative editing.
Motion would be to approve the resolution in the packet as revised.
As revised.
Motion to approve the resolution in the packet as revised.
Second.
Can I ask a question right quick?
Yes.
Convoluted, but shouldn't like the emergency preparedness and infrastructure, all that be capitalized?
It's typically not capitalized in pieces I've seen.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, it's kind of done as a sentence. I've never seen them capitalized, and
because it has to have a name.
Okay, that's fine.
Something named or something.
Yeah, it's not a proper name. Okay. So we have a roll call vote?
Councilmember Cook?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Hunley?
Yes.
Councilmember Harrington?
Aye.
Councilmember Agramonte?
Yes.
Mayor Harvey?
Yes.
Thank you. The motion carries unanimously.
All right.
thank you for your support, council.
Kathy, can you stop screen sharing? So
Yep, I am getting off now. Here we go.
Appreciate it. All right, where are we? Item 6.4, Richard, are you still with us? Have you hung on? Great. Item 6.4, discussion, consideration, and possible actions regarding a request for council discussion by Mayor Logan Harvey to have the council, 1, review the police use of force policy used by the police department via contract with the sheriff's department, and 2, approve the Obama Foundation's My Brother's Keeper pledge, and it's council discretion. So I'm putting this forward, and the hope here is to do these 2 actions, but also to develop a subcommittee to create opportunities for additional actions and advice to council. The use of force policy, I think, while it is difficult, if not impossible, for us to make direct changes on it or to it as a council. I think it is still something that we should review as a council and be aware of. I think the use of force policy, we've heard a lot about it. I don't know if you've been getting the same emails about the 8 Can't Wait campaign and the rest of, and a lot of other suggestions and ideas around use of force by police. I think it's something that we should have a formal discussion about, review it with the chief of police, and maybe make a recommendation to the sheriff's office. We'll see where council wants to take that one, but I think no matter what, bringing it forward is really important. And second, I've personally signed the mayor's pledge, the My Brother's Keeper pledge, which requires the city to, or basically the mayor agrees to review use of force policies, to bring forward a coalition of, let me grab the thing so I read it correctly and don't have the wrong information for you. We review use of force policies, engage your community by including a diverse range of input, experiences, and stories in your review. Report your findings of your review to your community and seek feedback, and reform your community's use of force policies. So I think it's important for us overall to agree to it. And other cities throughout Sonoma County have done this as well, because we do have a rotating mayor position. And so that going forward, this is something that we've all agreed to. And then I'd like to create a subcommittee to work on this project of not just police brutality or police use of force questions, but also just kind of discrimination within Sonoma. There's been a lot of questions about the history, the way it's portrayed. We heard at the rally, the Black Lives Matter rally that was held in the Sonoma Plaza, a lot of young people who felt uncomfortable and not included in the city of Sonoma. And so I think that if we had a council subcommittee to explore ways to bring that together and to engage that question in an open and honest way, I think that could be really productive. And we've seen other cities in the county of Sonoma go forward with town halls and listening sessions and the rest of it. And I think it's something that we should do as well. I think there's an advantage to being, a step behind to kind of review what's going on and what other cities have done, and then learn from their experiences and make sure that we go about this in a real and honest way. So I'll give it to the council, but that's why I brought this forward, and that's why I have these two things that I'd like to agendize for August.
And Mayor Harvey, may just make one comment just to remind council at the very beginning. Again, this is your two-step process. So you are not deliberating whether to have this now. You're basically saying, do you want to schedule it so it comes at a future meeting? You're not having a policy conversation now. So just for members of the public who may be watching, it is a request to agendize, which really then part of the reason is if you do want to agendize, and that authorize the staff to do some additional work so that when we bring something back for you to have the broader conversation, there's more information for you to consider at that point as well. So with that, I'll turn it back to the council.
So can I ask a question?
Don't we have public comment first?
Yes.
Well, there's question period and then public comment, yeah. So you can ask a question, of course.
Me?
Yeah.
Thank you. I think Orlando said something about the sheriff's department. Did he share something with us with respect to chokehold? I don't remember.
Yeah, the sheriff's department has gone through the use of force policy. I've reviewed it as well personally, but I think having a formal review kind of takes it to another level. And the sheriff did, in fact, ban the carotid hold, which is, effectively a chokehold or a stranglehold. It's a carotid artery that's in the neck. And the sheriff also went through the 8 Can't Wait policies and compared it to what we have in the city of Sonoma, and I've reviewed them as well. I think we can strongly say we have 4. I think that you could make an argument that we have 5. The sheriff argued that we had significantly more than that, basically that we had all 6. I think that the council should review that. It's a in interpretation for us to say what we think we're at and where we should go, and certainly improvements can and must and should be made. So yeah, I think that we should have a discussion about it. But the sheriff has gone through it. I've posted about kind of my rundown through it and my interpretation of it on Facebook as well. So I can send that to anybody if you have questions or thoughts about it. But I think it's for the council to discuss and decide as well.
Right, and I think that's why I brought it up, because at least there's something happening. May not be completely what the council is looking at, but at least something's going on. Thanks.
All right. Great. So seeing no additional questions of council, I'll go ahead and open it up for public comment. And Richard, and we have Tom as well. We have Josette was added, but I don't know if she had her hand up. Okay. We've got two in now. Richard, did you want to go ahead?
I would like to. Thank you all. Can you hear me clearly?
We can, yes.
Good. Okay. So in preparation for tonight's meeting and discussion, I sent each and all of you an email that was fairly detailed, comprehensive, and it was born in part by what we all see in America is happening with the increased militarization of police and law enforcement, use against civilians. And I think it prompted me to look to the city council to do a deeper dive under Kathy's baton to look into the links that I sent, because what I didn't see in either the contract, which I read at one sitting, as well as your proposal on the agenda tonight, was the following. I didn't see anything that related to a civilian oversight. I did see that while the city is required to pay, as I said in the email, for all the equipment, training, hiring vehicles and equipment, in fact, it is the County of Sonoma Sheriff's Department that tells you what you're going to pay for. I didn't see anywhere in any documents that the Sheriff's Department had provided to the city, and particularly the city attorney and the city manager, the training manuals that they use. And this is terribly important because of what has been happening all across this country. And my request to the council is not to rubber stamp. I'm sorry I missed the contractual thing on the May 18th meeting, but it can be amended. And when you see the failing grades of the Sonoma Sheriff's Department, I was appalled. I sent you the link to that report. You can see other cities. Now, Sonoma has always distinguished itself as a wonderful hamlet in a bucolic setting. And I don't mean to disparage the city. In fact, 92 of the 100 cities all got failing grades. So you're among many. Please read what I've talked about regarding police accountability. Am I down to a minute?
You less than now.
Okay. So I hope you will all read, and thank you, Kathy, and thank you, Rebecca, for posting these. But I do hope you'll go through the policy solutions to have a much better balance and understanding of what police departments and law enforcement can do, and that you have to provide a way to oversee them and manage them, particularly in training. So I hope you will follow some of my suggestions, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. Mr. Conlon.
Check. I am now. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Thank you. First, if I may reply to Councilmember Harrington's direct reply to my comment on the previous item. It was never my intention to offend. So if my comment was somehow offensive to you or to anyone else, I believe my comment must have been misinterpreted. I did, in fact, watch that meeting where you all approved the sheriff's contract extension. I believe I spoke on 4 other items that evening, and it was already a long meeting. I'm well aware that the council's ad hoc that night was very frustrated at the intransigence of the sheriff's office, and that you voted to eliminate the K-9 position and also to put the school resource position on probation, or whatever you call it. And I also appreciated some of the council's discussion that night, especially Amy's, about the inappropriateness in the use of dogs and how that reminds everyone of just how brutal the police can be, even right here in our own neighborhoods. But my comment was directed to the fact that the rationale given for your votes that evening was almost entirely related to the need to offset the sheriff's office's outrageous and non-negotiable rate increase. And that modest police defunding effort was justified almost entirely as just a way to balance your police budget. There was no significant discussion of what I believe I just referred to tonight as our policing crisis, because that night George Floyd was still alive and the country hadn't yet erupted into the most widespread and deeply promising civil rights movement of my lifetime. And I was around when I was a kid for some of the stuff in the late 60s. To the best of my knowledge, before this item tonight, and you aren't even taking any action tonight, this council has taken no action to directly address our local history of police brutality, which literally props up the system of racism here in Sonoma and beyond. We've taken no action to defund the police beyond the budget balancing measures of last time. So I think what you have here is very timid. I encourage you to work on it and actually put some teeth into it. I think of this as 8 too late, and I hope you'll take my comments under consideration. Thank you.
All right. Go ahead and.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor. Do we can maybe perhaps Mr. Conlon knows, but if once we take comments, could Miss Capriola share with everyone the process of negotiations? It has nothing to do with us.
Great. Yeah, let me go ahead and close public comment because I'm seeing no additional, and I don't see, Latanya, do we have any?
We do have one written. It's from Josette.
Thank you.
Rose Eicher. I'm sorry if I didn't pronounce your name right, Josette. I listened to the June 23rd Sonoma County Supervisors meeting agenda item on oversight of the Sheriff's Department. From what was discussed, I know they are planning to work with the incorporated cities to have a uniform approach to law enforcement reform and oversight. But the thing I want to express specifically with the City Council is the deputies that are assigned to and working with the City of Sonoma Police Department. From my research of what is going on in the county, there are deputies that have complaints of misconduct out there, and I don't feel secure at this point that anything is being done to investigate these deputies. I'm asking if the city knows the records of the deputies assigned to the city and asking for full disclosure if there have been complaints against any of them currently working for the city. I've let the Board of Supervisors know what I think needs to be done based on what has happened over the past few years with deaths, injuries, and lawsuits. Big change, big reform, and oversight are needed. I do not have a negative view of the City of Sonoma's police department, but I do have a concern about the deputies assigned to it from the county sheriff's department. Thank you. And that's the only written public comment we have.
Thank you, Latanya. I appreciate you reading that. And thank you, Josette, for submitting the comments. I'll go ahead and close public comment and bring it back to the council for discussion. Go ahead.
So maybe, I know Madeline wanted it addressed about how the sheriff's contract is negotiated. I don't know, Kathy, do you want to answer that? Do you want me or David to answer it, or?
I mean, if you want to start, I'll be happy to add in, but I mean, basically we worked for almost about a year. We had some stops and starts, but we went through the negotiation in terms of the contract. And again, there were a variety of changes made. You know, as a city, that there's not a lot of other choices for us to choose to go to at this point. And so there were a number of places within the contract that we did not have much negotiating strength from. Again, I think there is,
I think we can talk issue about the Board of Supervisors approving the compensation. And
oh yes, I'm sorry, labor negotiation, my apologies. Yes, so labor negotiation, the compensation of the deputy sheriffs is not decided by the sheriff. It is actually decided by the Board of Supervisors. All the labor contracts are run out of the county administrator's office at the direction of the Board of Supervisors. So while the sheriff oversees the staff, the actual labor negotiations and compensation are determined by the Board of Supervisors. If that answers your question. Sorry about that.
That's what you wanted, right, Madeline?
Yes.
Yeah.
Great.
I'll comment.
Yeah.
I'm happy to see this on our agenda, and I think it's something that the city council, even though we do contract our police services, I think it's important for us to take a more active role into what that even looks like. I think for a long time, it was just sort of sitting back and letting things happen in Santa Rosa. But like many others, the last few weeks have made me think hard, even since we've adopted our police contract. So I fully support having this discussion and the city formally embracing my Brother's Keepers pledge. And I would be interested in serving on this subcommittee to do the review.
Okay. Councilmember Harrington.
So I'm really glad that you agendized this, Logan. I think it's important that we have a formal discussion about it. And many of the issues that are, I will agree with Tom Conlon that never in my lifetime did I think we would have the social movement we have today. And when we were watching Ferguson burn to the ground, some of those people who are still in jail, it was predictable that there would be additional deaths, but not that there would be this kind of social movement here. Part of the reason I wanted to be on the contract negotiations team for the police in the beginning was because I had concerns about it, and Councilmember Cook and I talked extensively about what other options besides the sheriff department might be available. So I'm glad that this is coming forward now. I think that at the time when we had the discussions, my point being about why it wasn't just a budget cut. I think I said specifically, I don't think we should have attack dogs. As someone who grew up in a neighborhood where people were harassed and terrified by things like that, I felt a little dismissed about that issue at that time, but I'm really glad that in such a short period of time, those issues have come to the forefront, even in Sonoma.
Mayor Harvey, I'll go next. Yes, I will be supporting this also, and thank you, Mayor Harvey, for bringing this. I look forward to the discussion in August.
Thank you, Councilmember Cook. Madeline, do you have any comments?
Yeah, I'm very comfortable with this. I think it's probably time. Its time has come, and I'm so appreciative of young people. I think it's unbridled enthusiasm. So I'm happy about that.
Thanks. I appreciate council support on these items, and I appreciate our willingness as a council to move forward and address this extremely important issue that's been around for a long time. And I agree with Councilmember Harrington as well. This movement is really impressive and in some ways unprecedented, and the sustained efforts here are really, really encouraging. And this has been something that's been concerning to me before, but this is really the movement has brought this to the top of mind of all cities. And I think as we move forward, these are the first of a couple actions that we'll take. But I think the point of having the subcommittee, and I would love to join Councilmember Hundley or Vice Mayor Hundley, I apologize, on the subcommittee and work with her going forward on that to try to move forward. This is the first of multiple actions. This is about bringing the community together. This is about addressing history. This is about having those conversations. But I think it's also important for the public to be cognizant of the fact that if we're going to deal with long-term systemic issues, which these are going to be longer term processes that we're going to have to take seriously and move forward with. And so we as a county and as a city are all moving forward on this. There have been these discussions happening throughout the county on calls with mayors. There are discussions about how do we rethink policing and how do we rethink public safety in a way that prevents violent acts and protects our community, and also, frankly, provides a better, a more directed job for police forces as well. We ask them to do a lot, and it's impossible for somebody to be trained on all these different issues. So we have to address this holistically as a community, and I think that there's room for better mental health and all the rest of it. Better mental health response, better domestic violence response, and all of those things. And so we need to address that. We need to address systemic racism and other prejudices throughout our community. And I look forward to working on that. And I look forward to this community coming together around that. And I look forward to bringing in additional voices. So I appreciate the council supporting this. And I look forward to the discussion in August.
Jeff, at this point, should we do a formal vote with the appointment of the subcommittee as well?
Sure.
Yes.
We can have an appointment of a subcommittee before it's agendized.
Yes, our agenda already has on it a template, boilerplate that says that the council may establish and make appointments to a council committee made up of 2 council members with respect to any item appearing on this agenda.
Mm-hmm.
So the council could form a subcommittee to address the issue of police misconduct, and the council could tonight direct that committee as in terms of what it wished to do and study to bring something back for the council's consideration at the August meeting.
No. Well, in that case, I would just say I'd like to be on that. This is an issue I've devoted quite a bit of time to personally, and also having been on the police contract negotiations, have interacted with, on this topic for quite a while now, and it's something I'd like to be on.
Well, I appreciate that, and I think that your experience on the police contract would make you a great member for the subcommittee. So if council has support for myself and Councilmember Harrington, or Councilmember Harrington and Councilmember Hundley, I mean, I brought this forward, so I'd really like to be on the subcommittee. I do think the experience you have on the police contract will be very valuable here, but something we can discuss later as well.
Does it require
sorry, one suggestion to council, I think it might, as the council determines what this looks like, because there's issues in terms of police use of force, there's issues potentially of broader kind of community conversations about racism. There may be enough even for, 2 subcommittees or something as you bring this broader piece forward. So I just throw that out as this really isn't scoped yet in terms of what you want to do as a council. And it very much could be, you could think about this first piece of coming back and working with staff to bring something back in August as kind of a first phase, and it could get flushed out further as we have on some things. And sometimes there's an opportunity for multiple folks, council members, to be involved. So I just throw that out as an idea.
So let's wait until August, and we'll determine if we want to have additional subcommittees. And I'm fine. I'm comfortable with that. Since there's a broad interest throughout council, I don't want to necessarily make people feel, I want people to be able to be engaged in this. And so if we can find room for additional, 2 subcommittees or whatever it is, so the load is shared and so that everybody feels respected and able to be a part of this, then I'm happy to do that as well. So I don't know if the council supports that. That's not my decision long term, but.
Mayor, the discretion and option is up to you to select the members of this committee subject to ratification by the council.
Oh, okay. Well then, but we may have additional subcommittees, so I guess is my proposal. So I'd rather, frankly, I'd rather bring Amy's experience with the police contract if we're going to decide on one tonight. If we're going to bring forward, in August, then that would be fine to wait. But specifically with that issue, I definitely would want.
I think we can form one tonight, and then just the first one, and then if we want to have a second one, we can just make it at the August meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, and I would support Councilmember Harrington because I know being on the ad hoc with the police, it would be good to have that. But I understand, Vice Mayor Hundley also, and I don't like to make decisions on who. So I think that this is an ongoing, and I think that there could be a lot of involvement by all 5 of us. So I'll leave it at that.
Absolutely.
Well, as I stated at the beginning, I'm certainly interested in being on it. I have also discussed this issue with the city manager. I thought it was coming to us directly rather than a city council member agenda item. But I guess whatever the council's wishes are, what's going to happen.
Okay. So we have a motion. Do we need a motion?
Well, you need to announce your appointments and then ask the council to ratify your appointments, yes or no.
Okay, so I would appoint myself and Councilmember Harrington to the subcommittee around, I guess, police violence and use of force.
That's a
Well,
motion.
sorry, I just want to be clear because so that we're clear about what the council subcommittee is going to do. Again, the agenda item, as my understand, was that we would be bringing a review of the use of force policies back to a council meeting. And so the subcommittee would help kind of be clear about kind of the scope of that, correct? And then again, we would also be bringing the Brothers Keeper pledge.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that there's a need for a subcommittee on these two particular items. I mean, my vision was kind of thinking that eventually we would have a subcommittee that would deal with history and racial issues and the rest of it, and that may come out of the kind of discussion that we have, especially around Brothers Keeper, because one of the items is to bring in a diverse set of people and have those types of discussions. And so for me, that means significant meetings and meeting with people and talking about issues of race and class and the rest of it. And then additionally, when we deal with the use of force policy, there may be, I think there's going to be countywide efforts to address how force is done, and how we design a police force for the future. And so for me, there will probably be two kind of main things that the city's working on. One, what does the future of police force look like? And two, how do we bring community together and have real discussions about race and about prejudice and the rest of it? And so I think that those could be two separate things, but I think that council's got to decide if we want to do that as a whole. I mean, it's not completely up to me.
Can it be a subcommittee that broadly deals with the issue of policing in Sonoma, whatever that entails?
Sure.
Is that permissible? What are the limits about what the subcommittee can be about based on the agenda, Jeff?
Well, the item is as agendized, it deals with use of force. I think that would be the focus of the subcommittee formed tonight for sure.
And then in August, can you expand the role of the subcommittee or whatever if you want to?
Yes, you could. This subcommittee could come back with a recommendation that you need 5 subcommittees, and each one has its own police or racial issue that it's needed analyzing.
Okay, so then there would be a subcommittee of me and the mayor working on use of force issues until August, at which time we can make recommendations for whatever else may be necessary.
Yes.
Does that work for you?
Works for me. Okay. Do we need a motion? I move that we develop, that we put these items on the agenda in August and that we develop a subcommittee around this subject of police use of force, comprised of myself and Councilmember Harrington.
Second.
Councilmember Cook?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Hunley?
Aye.
Councilmember Harrington?
Aye.
Councilmember Agramonte?
Aye.
Mayor Harvey? Thank you. The motion carries unanimously.
Thank you. All right, on to item 7.1, councilmember reports and comments. Committee reports, council members are appointed to, so do we have committee reports? I don't need to read this. Do we have reports, council member reports? Nobody? Cool. City manager comments and announcements.
Just a few brief things. A reminder to the community that we will be canceling the July 27th meeting. So we'll be letting staff take some vacation time, and then we'll be back August 3rd will be our first meeting. Staff just also want to tell council we continue to work with some of the different restaurants, and we'll be meeting with the subcommittee or council subcommittee, which is Vice Mayor Hunley and Mayor Harvey tomorrow to give kind of an update, looking at least one of the restaurants starting in the plaza this weekend, and also exploring some parklets. Also, just for the 4th of July, I want to tell council and the community that we are going to be having kind of a safety table near the front of City Hall to help provide both masks. Someone's forgotten a mask, and be able to provide information and let people, any of the hand sanitizer. We'll also have a water bottle filling station since our faucets are closed. And the Native Sons and a subset of the Native Sons will be helping kind of do some of that staffing just to have an education presence on the plaza. We know there's no special events and no activities, but we do anticipate to have a lot of folks in town. And we want to have some friendly ambassadors doing some education in our community on that. And then a bit of a good news, and I know Councilmember, a number of you have been interested in the world of plastic bags. And as folks know, the world of plastic bags, we've all had to go back to using single-use plastic bags in our grocery stores, and the governor basically let his executive order expire on that. So there is information we'll be putting out publicly, but you can now bring your own bags, and you have to bag yourself, but you can bring your own bags. And so we'll be putting some information out on that. So those are just a few updates of some things going on. I do want to thank staff. We are by no means through this pandemic, but I want to thank the amazing team who has been responding to the pandemic for the last 4 months at the same time of doing the rest of operations and the finances piece. And I want to thank council for all of your work and support and various subcommittees. So with that, I will turn it back. That's the end of my report. Thank you, Mayor Harvey.
Kathy, can I add, or Mayor Harvey, can I add one thing? I'm sorry I didn't get to you earlier, Kathy. I just wanted to remind everyone that nomination period for the November election will open on July 13th. Because of COVID, there will be some differences this year. We are going to be asking everyone to make an appointment due to office closures. And the candidate handbook will be going out on the website by the end of this week with more information on how we'll be handling that. But I just wanted to, since this will be the last council meeting prior.
Thank you. And then Mayor Harvey, just a reminder, we do need to go back into closed session. I think it will be a brief item, but I do want to, we need to go back into closed session.
Great.
So.
Fun.
Thank you. All right. Well, we will retire to closed
Such
session.
enthusiasm.
Just trying to make it feel good.
Let's do it.
Yes.
Thank you.
Can we take a 5-minute break, Mr. Mayor? Or no?
I think he's exited already.
Oh.
So we'll need to get on the closed session Zoom and leave the Zoom.
Oh, for God's sakes. Okay.